Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hey, folks, today is Friday, July 25th, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. The Florida Supreme Court, the right-wing Florida Supreme Court, backs Governor Ron DeSantis in the destruction of a black congressional district. We'll talk to a grassroots organization about that very issue. Also, on today's show, Donald Trump signs executive order, and he wants to get rid of homeless people in the country. Oh, he has no plan. He just doesn't want them to be seen at all. Also, Section 8 rental assistance faces significant cuts that's going to impact millions of people. We'll talk with the CEO of the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Plus, in Illinois, we'll discuss the audacity of a white Illinois sheriff's deputy who fatally shot Sonia Massey in her kitchen. Of course, he's claiming self-defense. And also, folks, we will simulcast a tribute to Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who lost his life swimming with his family in Costa Rica. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Republicans are doing all they can to get a massive advantage. So let's take Florida. Republicans have a 20-8 advantage in the congressional district. It's been gerrymandered. And Governor Ron DeSantis, what did he do? He attacked the congressional seat of former Congressman Al Lawson. That was a black seat. What they then did was they split that seat into 3 separate congressional seats. Same thing Republicans did in Tennessee for the for the city of Nashville. So as a result, the African Americans are lost without they have no representation. And this is the thing that we're seeing all across the country. Joining us right now is Genesis Robinson, Executive Director of Equal Brown. Genesis, glad to have you here on the show. Look, it's abundantly clear what Republicans want to do. We see this in Texas. We see it there in Florida. They fought like hell to stop those districts from being created in Alabama as well as Louisiana. And what I keep saying to African Americans is that we make their job easy when we don't show up and vote after they do things such as this.
That's right, Roland, and I thank you for the opportunity to join you tonight. And the state of Florida and this governor has been very clear. They've given voters very many reasons why they don't deserve to lead in this state. We saw a governor insert himself in the redistricting process, unprecedented action by submitting his own map and signaling to the legislature that he preferred to decimate black representation. Fortunately, and to their credit, initially they rebuffed the governor. They refused to give him exactly what he wanted. And it wasn't until he took the budget and held it over their heads and refused to sign the budget until they gave him the map of his preference that they ultimately capitulated. And so as a result, we're here left without black representation in Congress. Despite the state of Florida having more black people than ever, we are losing seats in our congressional representation instead of gaining seats. And so that's just a problem that we're dealing with here in Florida. Obviously, it goes to a long list of other problems that we've seen under this administration.
Okay, so this obviously was a ruling from the Florida Supreme Court. What's next? Can you intervene on the federal level?
So it looks like we're headed to another election in 2026 under these maps. I know there are some conversations being had right now. There was a federal challenge that has already been exhausted. This was the state challenge to the court, and as you noted, we've made it all the way to the Florida Supreme Court. So for the short term, it looks as if we may be headed to yet another election, the third election under what we believe is an unconstitutional map.
As you said, I mean, DeSantis did this on his own, and he defied the legislature. But what people don't understand is when you have a state that's gerrymandered, they also Republicans control the state Supreme Court, and those are and for folks who don't know, are the Supreme Court in Florida, are they elected or are they appointed?
So the Supreme Court is appointed here in the state of Florida, and it's good that you brought that point up, right? Because you got to remember, Ron DeSantis was elected in 2018 by defeating Andrew Gillum by less than 35,000 votes, one of the closest gubernatorial elections in the history of our state. And immediately he began stacking the court. And so here it is, a court that he basically stacked has now delivered an advantage for him, as well as his Republican parties and his colleagues here in the state. But most importantly, at the federal level, Roland, you know, the consequences of this extend well beyond Florida. Yes, we lost congressional representation, but by him shifting the balance of power in the Republican conference, it has enabled them to have enough votes to act on Donald Trump's agenda. And so when we talk about the implementation of Project 2025, when we see this big ugly bill pass, that is wholly possible because Florida shifted the dynamics and gave Republicans such an advantage in the congressional delegation.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point there were a lot of people in those final 4 days. They were like, hey, going into the weekend, Gillum is leading. Hey, we got this in the bag. And I'm like, no, folks, you got to run through the tape. You cannot assume it had it in the bag. And we're now seeing the result of that. I mean, a lot of this stuff, DeSantis could have been beaten.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, you know, if anything, it should have been a cautionary tale of what happens when you don't engage and, you know, like you said, follow it all the way through to the end. But hopefully we're learning our lesson. Elections have consequences. And like I said, this administration, this Republican supermajority has given us various reasons why we should be fired up, ready to go to the polls and make a change to elect someone who shares our values, someone who's advocating for the same things that we care about in our communities. Enough is enough of just throwing away your vote or not engaging in the process, because this is the end result. You have the banning of Black history, the banning of books, the rewriting and whitewashing of Black history, the unwillingness to provide real economic security for so many Black folks who need it, and not to mention the countless voter suppression laws. So we have seen what happens when we don't participate, when we don't engage, and when we don't see it all the way through. And hopefully in 2026, we right the ship.
All right, Genesis, we certainly appreciate it. Keep us abreast of what happens. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Folks, let's now go to Texas, where Democrats are condemning Republican efforts in that state to also gerrymander the various seats. The first of 7 public hearings, Democratic lawmakers vehemently criticized Republican colleagues for trying to push through this redistricting plan that was all at the behest of Donald Trump. Now, here's what's crazy. You get 140 people who came from all over the state to testify. Republicans only limited testimony to 40 people in about 5 hours. Isaiah Martin, who's a candidate, one of many candidates running for the 18th Congressional District there in Houston. That's the seat formerly held by the late Sylvester Turner and the late Sheila Jackson Lee. He was dragged out of a hearing, literally dragged out of a hearing by law enforcement there. State Senator Boris Miles, one of 2 African-American state senators in Texas, made it clear that the legislature should be focusing on helping the people who have been ravaged by floods in Texas, as opposed to this highly partisan effort to kiss Donald Trump's butt.
First of all, I want to apologize to all those that have suffered, not only in floods of Kerrville, but all those citizens across the state of Harris County, the city of Harris County, all the way down to the Panhandle. Because instead of focusing on flood mitigation, disaster recovery, we're here talking about redistricting maps that we haven't even seen yet. Second, I want to apologize to all of you who are watching us on computers from your public library, because it's the only way you can have your voices heard. I know that myself and Senator Alvarado requested there be a personal testimony option. so that we could hear from the widest swath of people, especially those that may not own computers and be fortunate enough to have broadband internet access. Mr. Chairman, I quite frankly think it's irresponsible to ignore that there is a digital divide in the state of Texas. Now for the reason that we're here today, to further gerrymander Texas more than it's already gerrymandered, Mr. Chairman. We cannot pretend that this mandate from President Trump is not about race. The DOJ letter is a hit list, and we all know that. It is a hit list targeting opportunity districts in the state's congressional districts with strong black and brown representation. This is voter suppression. This is not about census or population changes or the Constitution at all. This diminishes, dilutes, and destroys the votes of black and brown more important that we could be attacking and addressing. This body should focus on, instead of punishing the racist agenda and pushing the racist agenda of the sitting president, Donald J. Trump. All regular session members, we heard bill after bill, debate after debate of how DEI programs were no longer needed and how far we've come. And yet on July 25th, 2025, just a couple of months later, we are here in this hearing in a mid-decade redistricting, and it's all about race. Black and brown folks can't even vote in the state of Texas in peace. You know, I've often said, members from the Senate floor, our strength of Texas is in our diversity. And until we embrace it, we will not be as strong as we possibly can be. It's not redistricting. This is not about redistricting, as I said before. This is rigged districting. It is quite frankly disrespectful to every black and brown citizen of this state. Quite frankly, Mr. Chairman.
Folks, that was testimony from various residents, and we're going to show you some of that. So a couple of things. One, you've got Isaiah Martin, again, who's running for Congress in District 18, Congressional District 18, who was dragged out of the hearing. There was another sister who testified. Then also, Congressman Al Green had a news conference with Latino leaders. Let's show you all of that.
Because the game is rigged. We already know this way the situation is going to be. Many of you that are Republicans that are looking at you, you guys understand the game. You got to get Trump's endorsement. That's the name of the game to be a Republican nowadays. And you know very clearly that Trump told every single one of you that he needs 5 seats. There will be a retaliation for that. You've seen states like California say that they will gerrymander Republicans out of their states. You see the same thing in Maryland. The same thing is going to happen in New York. While you were in here, Governor Kathy Hochul said that she will be gerrymandering Republicans out of their seats. The same thing is going to happen in New Jersey. So for all of the work that you guys see that you guys claim to be doing, when we should be talking about the fact that we live in a state that is unaffordable for people, our economy is wrecked, people cannot find good jobs, we literally have property taxes going up every single year, despite the fact that you Republicans have been in office for nearly 30 straight years. I mean, this is the game that we live in right here. And you choose, after we literally got after one of the worst mass casualty events in our state's history, to go and gerrymander people out of their seats. That's what you have chosen to do with your time, because you're scared of Donald Trump. You are scared and terrified because you're seeking an endorsement when you understand the truth. And the funny part about it is that you all know it's true. You can't react to it. I see you guys' faces. You can't react to it, but you all know what the situation is. Because Donald Trump runs this body. He runs your vote, he runs your vote, he runs your vote, he runs your vote, because you guys know that you cannot dare cross him. And ultimately, what we need in this state are people that have the cojones to actually go forward and call this stuff out. And you can thank your failed, senile, dilapidated, Epstein partying with president for all of the work that we're about to do to every single one of you.
Thank you for your testimony.
You did this, you caused this, and this is the result of you and your work. No, I'm not going to finish.
Witness's time has expired.
I'm not finished. Because ultimately, who doesn't have a say in this are the people of this state, the 40 million people that you guys just kicked
Witness will come to order.
The people of this state.
The witness does not. The witness is not recognized.
As a result of what you guys have done, this is a result of your policies, and you have no shame.
Okay.
You have no shame. None.
The witness.
Zero.
The witness.
You have no shame for what you've done. And I think that we all should be standing up here and
just cut off his mic. Cut off his mic. The sergeants are directed to remove the gentleman from the room.
History will not remember you kindly for what you have done. They will not. As a matter of fact, history might not remember you at all because of what you have done. It's horrific.
The gentleman will be removed.
Shame. You need to have shame. History will not remember you for what you have done. It is a shame.
Members.
You need to have shame. History will not remember you for what you have done. It is a shame. Members. It is horrific for what you have. Oh, shit. Oh.
Jesus, get over here.
It's horrific for what you have done. You should all be ashamed.
I am deeply concerned with the lack of attention that is being brought to Kerr County at this moment. And as a person who has not only lived through Allison, Ike, Harvey, Imelda, Winter Storm Uri, as well as Hurricane Beryl, I understand what it means to lose almost everything and be in a place of desperation when you do not have your representatives standing up for you when it is needed. The simple fact that this administration is taking more priority to center a redistricting that no Texan has asked for, that no Texan has petitioned for, but was quicker to add this to the agenda rather than reach out to those in Kerr County and see what infrastructure dollars can be reallocated to ensure that they can rebuild and rebuild strong as Texans do, really unsettles me to my core. And this is the one thing I have to ask. If this is the same state government that put on a statue on top of its Capitol building just to spite DC's Capitol and have that inch taller, why are we bending backwards for a president who has made it known over and over again that he is only interested in his self-worth? So there is no reason why, as Texans, as proud as we are, we have been so honest in fighting for ourselves and our Texans, we are doing ourselves a disjustice by making sure that we're putting the needs over a felon, 34 times convicted, over the needs of people who need you right now. Please remove this agenda item. Please put the focus back on Kerr County. And please, for the love of God, get a spine.
Christina. Our next speaker is none other than Congressman Al Green, and we welcome him here tonight. Thank you for the very kind and warm reception. Please allow me to thank the president of the Tejano Democrats, Mr. Davis, President Davis, and of course my dear friend, longtime friend, Janie Reyes, who was a founder. I have with us tonight Ms. Fletcher, who is the person who chairs the Texas Democratic delegation. And of course, we just heard from State Representative Morales, Councilwoman Plumbers here, Mr. Castillo, Houston City Councilman, and Sylvia Mintz, Tejano Dem Women's President. I hope I got all of them. I also want to thank the press for being here. It's exceedingly important that this message reaches the masses, because we have to talk about what this is all about. And I have in my hand a letter from the Attorney General of the United States of America, dated July 7th, 2025. This letter has as its reference unconstitutional race-based congressional districts, cites Texas District 9, 18, 29, and 33. All of these are represented by people of color, all of them. The president has placed race in issue. We are not the persons playing the race card. The president has played the race card. The last sentence in this letter reads, if the state of Texas fails to rectify the racial gerrymandering, that's race. He's putting race in question. The racial gerrymandering of TX09, 18, 29, and 33, the Attorney General reserves the right to seek legal action against the state, including without limitation under the 14th Amendment. So the President of the United States of America, by and through his agent, the Attorney General, has made race an issue. If the President can make race an issue to start this process, then we can talk about race as an issue. There is nothing wrong with us now saying this is a race-based operation. It's a race-based plan. It is race-based collusion. It is race-based from start, and they're going to have it race-based to the finish. They plan to eliminate minority voices. That is the plan. If this plan succeeds, there will be more white. Some things bear repeating. There will be more white elected congresspersons and fewer Latino and African American congresspersons. Fewer if this plan succeeds. And mark my word, if it succeeds, you'll be able to just simply count. The numbers will speak for themselves. You're going to have more white representation, less minority representation. We, the minorities, we defend this unconstitutional removal of people from the country. We're taking a stand against it, and they're taking a stand against us. We're going to lose voices, fearless voices, that are willing to stand up to this president and say to him, you have to honor the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. You can't just decide you're going to pick a person up and send them away. We stand against this notion that you can somehow walk up to a female with a mask on and then capture her and then just whisk her away to some unknown place. This insanity, this is insanity. We cannot tolerate this, and we have to make it clear that this is about race. All of these districts have persons of color. The 18th is without a person of color currently, but Sylvester Turner, former mayor, was a person of color. Sheila Jackson Lee, person of color for almost 30 years, representing the 18th Congressional District. Craig Washington represented the 18th Congressional District, person of color. Mickey Leland represented the 18th Congressional District, person of color. Barbara Jordan, persons of color. This is what it's about, make no mistake. But do not assume that they won't hurt Ms. Fletcher in the process. Don't assume that they won't. They will hurt her too if they can. If they can find a way to increase their numbers and take her out, not personally, not with physicality, politically. If they can take her out politically, they'll take her too. So when we talk about it, we've got to say that it's more than a power grab, because if you say this, you'll find yourself in court testifying for the other side. Some people have already said it. They're already on record, and they may be called for the other side. I am in court right now in litigation for the 9th Congressional District, and also supporting the 18th and the 29th. I'm in court right now. I'm in court right now. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars to protect these seats. Tens of thousands. Tens of thousands. And I plan to spend tens of thousands more. But here's a little secret that's not often spoken. The president doesn't care whether he gets constitutional maps. He doesn't care. All he wants is for the state of Texas to approve maps. Approve maps that will give him more congressional seats. Why, Al, does he simply want maps if they are unconstitutional? Because he knows it takes years to overturn the unconstitutional maps. How do I know? I'm a plaintiff in a lawsuit that's been going on for years, right now, involving these very congressional districts. So he gets 2 more years of an unconstitutional map with unconstitutional representation. He gets to continue what he's doing to devolve democracy into an autocracy with him as an authoritarian president. And by the way, he always gives you a big number, he moves back, and then people can say, well, we won, or somehow we didn't get, it wasn't as bad as we thought it might be. He said 5. My prognostication is he won't do 5 because he'll put too many Republicans at risk. But he says 5 to get the attention of the public. And then when he does 3, we say, well, the president wasn't as bad as we thought he was. But he is. He is. Look, friends, I take no great pleasure in saying to you what I'm saying. I have lived this. This is not something I'm understanding vicariously from some distant place. I've lived it. I've lived it for the years that I've been in Congress fighting to protect these districts. And I'm going to continue to fight. But remember now, at the end of the day, if this prevails, there will be fewer Latino and fewer African American seats in Congress. I guarantee you that. There will be fewer, and there will be more white seats in Congress. The president put race in question. This is a racial gerrymandering. In fact, it is racist. That's what it is. And we cannot be afraid to say it. If they can use it, why can't we defend ourselves with it? Now, final comment. The president's agent says that this is racial gerrymandering. Funny thing, state of Texas doesn't agree. Senator Hoffman, you know well of what I speak, testified that the map is race blind that was drawn. The Attorney General for the state of Texas has said that they did not draw lines with any consideration as it relates to race. Maybe not in those exact words, but that's what he said. So my dear friends, please understand that all we are doing is defending what we have. There is nothing unconstitutional about having a congressional district where Latinos and African Americans make up a majority of the district. There's nothing wrong with that. If there's something wrong with that, there's got to be something wrong with having congressional districts where whites make up the majority. If whites can make up the majority in a congressional district, why can't Latinos and African Americans? Why does it become about race when we have the majority? Careful, little fellow. So please, stand with us. Don't let this become just a few of us against all of them. It's time for us to stand together. Together. Stand together, fight together, and win together. We shall overcome and we shall win. We shall win. We shall win.
Folks, this is a continual attack on black people. I have said this repeatedly since the inauguration, that what Donald Trump, MAGA, wants to do is defund black America. That's what their goal is, pure and simple. Michael Imhotep hosts the African History Network show, joins us. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney at Corpus Christi. Is Matt there? Okay, Matt hasn't joined us yet. Michael, it's clear. These people understand. The Congressional Black Caucus is down about 60 members. It is the largest caucus among the Democratic Party. This is a direct attack on black people. Republicans do not want black representation in Congress.
Absolutely, Roland. This is an attack on African Americans. This is an attack on African American political power, as well as African American economic power. Okay. And this is all laid out on Project 2025. This is what we were talking about before the election. So what we're seeing, we saw Donald Trump. Reports are Donald Trump called Governor Greg Abbott and told him that he wanted him to redraw district lines. They're trying to get 5 more congressional seats. They're trying to take the congressional seat of Representative Jasmine Crockett and some others, Sylvester Turner's old district. We know Sylvester Turner just recently passed away. So this is a blatant power grab. What we have to understand is that these people have no conscience. They have no shame. And this, looking back in our history, Roland, this reminds me, I know you're familiar with this, this reminds me of Gomillion versus Lightfoot, 1960 U.S. Supreme Court case, where in Alabama, the white supremacists in the state legislature tried to gerrymander African Americans in the Tuskegee district. And those African Americans led an economic boycott that lasted for 4 years, but they also filed a lawsuit that went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in their favor. So in addition to organizing on the ground, in addition to registering people to vote, re-registering people to vote, things like this, we're seriously going to have to implement some targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategies, targeting corporations that help finance a lot of these people who Republicans who are in office right now. Because trying to, I know everybody means well, but these people have no shame. And they're cowards. They're afraid of Donald Trump. So trying to appeal to their sense of decency, they have no decency. And as Dr. Greg Carr, your frat brother, Dr. Greg Carr, has told us numerous times here on this show, there are no rules. And Republicans keep showing us every day there are no rules.
Yep, absolutely. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. I got to go to break. We come back. The attacks on housing in America. What will the impact be on those with Section 8? We'll discuss that next right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Democracy in the United States is under siege. On this list of bad actors, it's easy to point out the Donald Trumps, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, or even the United States Supreme Court as the primary villains. But as David Pepper, author, scholar, and former politician himself says, there's another factor that trumps them all and resides much closer to many of our homes. His book is Laboratories of Autocracy, a wake-up call from behind the lines.
So these state houses get hijacked by the far right, then they gerrymander, they suppress the opposition, and that allows them to legislate in a way that doesn't reflect the people of that state.
David Pepper joins us on the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hey, this is Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. That boy, he always unfiltered, though. I ain't never known him to be filtered. Is there another way to experience Roland Martin than to be unfiltered? Of course he's unfiltered. Would you expect anything less? Watch what happens next.
Well, Donald Trump is attacking the homeless, signing an executive order telling cities they must sweep homeless encampments. While that's happening, they're looking to cut Section 8 housing funding in this country by nearly 50%. Joining us right now is Renee Willis, president and CEO of the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Renee, glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, this is just shameful, despicable. These people, they claim to be pro-life. They're not pro-life. And when you're talking about, we have a housing crisis right now in the country, and now you want to cut by upwards of 50% Section 8 rental assistance?
That's right. Thank you, number one, for having me on. But it's draconian. There is an urgent need to address America's affordable housing and homelessness crisis, especially for the lowest income households. And these are households who have the greatest needs. And if funding is cut, as was proposed in the president's proposed budget, people will lose their assistance, and it will put them at high risk of eviction and homelessness. And it's draconian, to say the least.
And so, all right, how do you fight it? Are Republicans going along with this? I mean, are y'all having people in red states appeal to these senators and members of Congress to understand that, hey, this could absolutely screw A lot of poor white folks, poor black folks, Latinos, voters.
Yeah, that's right. And so I just want to also just kind of frame it so that people understand who we're talking about. So across the country, there are 45.6 million renter households in the United States. 10.9 of those households have extremely low income. So that's almost 1 in every 4 renters who have incomes at or below the federal poverty guideline, or 30% of the area median income. And so when we look at that, we're talking about people like 51% of renter households with extremely low incomes are seniors. These are our seniors. These are households with disabilities. And another 40% are in the labor force. So these are working folk, people who are in school, people who are single adult caregivers or of school age children. And so this is who we're talking about. And of those in the labor force, generally like 42% usually work 40 hours or more per week. So we're not talking about people who are not working. These are people who work. And so, and also too, I just want to point out that on any given night, more than 770,000 people are homeless on any given night. And so I wanted to frame it in that way so that we realize that we're not just talking about numbers. We're not just talking about policies. We're talking about people, because there are people behind these figures. These are our neighbors, our caregivers, our educators, our essential workers. These are some of our family members. And it's really important to really frame it in that way, to share that these are our people. But it is draconian what is being proposed right now. So if you look at what's happening right now in the House and Senate, both have released their draft FY26 spending bills for HUD. And while more funding will be needed, in the final spending bill, to ensure that the commitment to existing housing and homelessness assistance, that all of that is met, the Trump administration it's harmful, the proposals to slash funding for and completely redesign the rental assistance, homelessness assistance programs. So for instance, the House and the Senate, draft right now, some of the key implications are that the House and the Senate draft do not include the White House proposals to combine HUD's 5 largest rental assistance programs. So we're talking about housing choice vouchers, and many people know that as Section 8. We're talking about project-based rental assistance. We're talking about it's a smaller program called Section 202, and this is housing for the elderly. And then it's also Section 811, which is housing for people with disabilities and public housing. And so the president's design and president's proposal was to put all of those programs into one state-run block grant, which would then be cut by an additional 43%, in the president's proposal. And then while their draft bill provides more funding for housing choice vouchers, it provides more than what we saw or what we're seeing in the House bill right now. Neither the House or the Senate proposals would be sufficient to provide enough funding to renew all existing housing choice voucher contracts. And neither proposals include funding to continue the vital emergency housing voucher program. And even with that, we see that with the housing emergency housing voucher program, that around 59,000 households currently rely on emergency housing vouchers to afford the rent. And these are households that previously had been experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity, or were, fleeing domestic violence. And so without additional funding to continue the program or bring emergency housing vouchers support to households, these households will once again be at immediate risk of housing instability and homelessness. And so we are sounding the alarm. Everyone needs to sound the alarm as well.
Should sound the alarm, and also what we call on people to do: call the members of Congress, call the U.S. senators to understand and say this is critically important. Well, Renee, we surely appreciate it. Keep up the fight.
Thank you. So appreciate it. And please keep up the fight.
I appreciate it.
Keep up the fight. Thank you.
Well, every day. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, we come back. Donald Trump's, what are they, his HUD department, what are they doing? Oh, they're saying black people, y'all been discriminated against. We don't really care. We're shutting those cases down. I'll explain that next. Folks, don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to cover stores all across the country. Supporting this show and the Black Star Network. If you want to contribute, give via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. For the link, go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money orders, make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Also, you want to get our swag? A lot of people were stopping me on the plane and in the airports of D.C., Houston, and Las Vegas. This is our Don't Blame Me, I Voted for the Black Woman shirt. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com. We're using a totally new vendor. We're not using Custom Spring. We're seeing how they work out, so get your shirt right now. All proceeds, when you buy products, that comes right back into the show. Folks, I'll be right back.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats like identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Like, absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Democracy in the United States is under siege. On this list of bad actors, it's easy to point out the Donald Trumps, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, or even the United States Supreme Court as the primary villains. But as David Pepper, author, scholar, and former politician himself says, there's another factor that trumps them all and resides much closer to many of our homes. His book is Laboratories of Autocracy, a wake-up call from behind the lines.
So these state houses get hijacked by the far right, then they gerrymander, they suppress the opposition, and that allows them to legislate in a way that doesn't reflect the people of that state.
David Pepper joins us on the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. I don't play Sammy, but I could. Or I don't play Obama, but I could. I don't do Stallone, but I could do all that. And I am here with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Well, just the latest example that Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about black people, nor does his black Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. ProPublica is reporting that the Trump MAGA folks are going to drop 7 cases that have been investigated, some as long as 7 years, where they even show discrimination against African Americans and others when it comes to housing. That's right. ProPublica says these high-profile investigations involves claims that state and local governments in the South and the Midwest illegally discriminated against people of color by placing industrial plants on low income housing in their neighborhoods. The report also alleges that local governments directed similar facilities away from white neighborhoods. HUD has been investigating some of these for the last 7 years, including instances where the agency had already issued formal charges of discrimination, as well as newer inquiries. In 3 of the cases, HUD officials determined that the defendants had violated the Fair Housing Act or related civil rights laws. But Donald Trump says, oh, don't worry about it. You're good. You all get away with it. But folks, we shouldn't be all shocked by this because Donald Trump and his dad were accused of racist discrimination and when it came to housing. And guess what? All of these blackface MAGA people, I call them the help, they're mighty quiet.
Well, not only are they mighty quiet, but the black social media disinformation agents that lied to black people and told them don't vote for Kamala Harris, or came out and blatantly supported Donald Trump, convicted on 34 felony counts, the man who incited the insurrection, and on day one started reversing 60 years of civil rights progress. Nicole Hannah-Jones has a op-ed article for, I think it's the New York Times, that talks about how Donald Trump upended 60 years of civil rights progress in 2 months. So yeah, this is using a blackface to once again attack African Americans, and this also deals with environmental racism, Roland. So all of this once again is laid out in Project 2025, because when you don't have to read all 922 pages, you don't have to do that. But if you just understand the basic theme, it is attacking the racial reckoning that took place in this country after the death of George Floyd. Is attacking any progress that's been made with equity, with programs that do with racial equity, anything like that. And we also remember a few months ago, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, announced about $1.5 billion in grants focused on improving the environment and minority communities hit hard by pollution. They were cutting those grants as well. They were getting rid of those grants also. So this is another example of the war on Black America coming from the Trump administration.
Yeah, I mean that's what we see before our very eyes, and people need to understand what's going on. And yeah, a lot of those simple Simons out there are real quiet. You know, it's one of these. You know, there's one little loudmouth person. I don't know. Is she? Hey, I ain't gonna give her no damn attention. She took offense because I called out one of her other little loudmouth simple Simons, and so she decided to do a little video. And I'm like, you know what? You're an idiot. And guess what? They real quiet. They attack Vice President Kamala Harris constantly. Constantly were attacking her when basically they were aiding Donald Trump, but then now they're real silent over the racism of Trump. I wonder why. We go to a quick break. I'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats like identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Like, absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder on Disney+. And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, a former Camden County, Georgia Sheriff's deputy who's white is going to spend 16 months in federal prison for his role in the brutal beating, 2022 of a black detainee. Surveillance video showed Ryan Beagle, along with two correctional officers, Mason Garrick and Braxton Massey, entering the cell of Jared Hobbs. They restrained him and repeatedly struck him even after he was pinned against a wall. Beagle admitted to punching Hobbs 5 times in the back of the head and delivering the additional 22 blows with his fists and knees. As part of a settlement, all charges against Hobbs were dropped. After serving his sentence, Beagle will be supervised release for 3 years. Garrick and Massey are facing charges of battery and breach of oath in connection with the beating of Hobbs. Don't be surprised, Michael, if Donald Trump pardons them. Because this is the kind of people he loves cops and correctional officers who beat up prisoners.
Yeah, he loves them unless they're getting their behinds beat by the insurrectionists that Donald Trump commands and sends and gave a pardon to on the January 20th. Okay, when he was when he was inaugurated, he gives a pardon to about 1,500 of the January 6th insurrectionists and commuted the sentences of 14 others like Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes. So yeah, he would give a pardon to these guys because remember he ran on part of his platform was giving 100% immunity against criminal prosecution to police officers. Okay, and this is picking up on themes from 2016 from his first term. Blue Lives Matter. People, you all remember that Blue Lives Matter and Jeff Sessions, his first attorney general, backing off of the consent decrees, trying to get out of the consent decrees with the Chicago Police Department and the Baltimore Police Department, and saying we need to take a hands-off approach to policing. His second attorney general, William Barr, said he didn't believe that racial bias existed in policing, things or systemic racism. He says systemic racism. I don't think systemic racism exists in policing, things like this. So yeah, once again, this is an example of how elections have consequences. And what I explain to people is not about one person versus another person. It's about the trajectory of the country and policies in all areas of our lives and how they impact us. Okay, and dealing with policing, this is one of them, and this is after Donald Trump did an executive order to end the federal database for police that consisted of about 150,000 police officers that Joe Biden did an executive order in 2022 to create. Okay, this is so because they couldn't get the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act put in place. This is one of the things that Biden did, okay, to make police more accountable. Donald Trump rescinded that, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gives these guys a pardon also.
Of course, and that's what we can expect. All right, let's talk about Sonia Massey. Massey Grayson. He is the white former Illinois deputy who shot and killed her. Oh, he's now claiming self-defense. Yeah. Sean Grayson's attorneys said that Sonia Massey's past mental state and history of violence, that's what led him to take the actions. A motion filed by Grayson's defense alleges that Massey directed an act of violence against Grayson by throwing boiling water in his direction, thereby making her the initial aggressor. Here's the problem. The entire encounter was captured on body cam footage. Grayson's defense team has also filed a motion to prevent the Massey Commission, a panel to form after her death to address community mistrust, from holding public forums about the case. They, of course, later withdrew that request. Grayson's trial, initially scheduled to take place in Springfield, has been relocated to Peoria due to the media coverage. It's going to take place in October. The next pretrial hearing is scheduled for September 12th. It's a little hard, Michael, to say it was self-defense when we actually see you and your partner all in the video.
Yeah, but I figured they would claim self-defense because what else are they going to claim? You know, and it's still very hard to convict police officers. Yeah, we saw the video. I think the killing was unjust, but of course this is what he's going to say, and then they're going to say, okay, you have to prove it in court. We know that, like I said, it's very hard to convict police officers. We know you have a lot of people that are sympathetic to police officers. This actual incident. This came up at the National Association of Black Journalists meeting, conference, when unfortunately they invited Donald Trump to speak, and he really didn't want to comment on this case because I believe it was Rachel Scott brought up to him about, well, you say you're going to give police immunity against criminal prosecution. How would that play in this situation here? He didn't want to comment on that. So these are the games these people play. This is why we have to understand this is a fight for power. This is a fight for political power, and politics shapes policing. And this is something that a lot of people, don't seem to understand. And this is one of the mistakes I think of the Black Lives Matter movement, even though I think they really meant well, and a lot were committed, but one of the mistakes that they made was they did not focus on encouraging right-minded African Americans who had a guardian mentality, who wanted to be the type of police officers that we all say we want to see. They didn't encourage them to apply to these police departments when there was a nationwide shortage of police officers. Okay, that was a real missed opportunity. And now understanding that we have to transition from the protest to power acquisition to reduce other people's ability to inflict harm upon us.
Well, bottom line is, can't wait to see them try to go to trial and go with this self-defense. All right, folks, that is it for us. We're going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to participate in the simulcast of a tribute to Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Of course, he did a podcast with legal analyst Candace Kelly, and they're going to have a 2-hour tribute. They're going to be simulcasting that here. And so when we come back, you'll actually see that. Folks, don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring It Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 people contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. And so your support is critical. If you want to use Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. Stripe QR code can also be used for credit cards as well. You see it right here on the screen. Go to, of course, checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, mail to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Be sure to download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure, of course, to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. You want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered gear, Black Star Network gear, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can get it there, plus support other Black-owned businesses. And don't forget, download the app Fanbase. If you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fanbase. Folks, that's it. I'll see you guys Monday right here in Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Next, after this commercial break, the tribute to Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
On the next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're talking about leveling up, or to put it another way, living your very best life. How to take a bold step forward that'll rock your world.
Leveling up is different for everybody. You know, I think we fall into this trap, which often gets us stuck because we're looking at someone else's level up journey, what leveling up means to them. For some, it might be a business venture. For some, it might be a relationship situation, but it's different for everybody.
It's all a part of A Balanced Life. That's next on Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
This week on the other side of change.
Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats like identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Like, absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Black Americans have 1/10 the wealth of their white counterparts. But how did we get here? It's a huge gap. Well, that's why we need to know the history and what we need to do to turn our income into wealth. Financial author and journalist Rodney Brooks joins us.
I grew up watching, there was different strokes, right?
Yeah.
There was Facts of Life, there was Webster.
Oh, yeah.
There was Jefferson, Sanford and Son.
Good Times.
Good Times. So I grew up watching these shows because, like everyone else, I was so starved to see Black people on television.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't necessarily shows that I ever really liked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't, the shows never resonated with me. And I knew that I was watching them just because I wanted to see myself, see people who look like me on television. And I remember when I booked Cosby, I remember feeling like to this show. I relate to this family. And my family looked nothing like the Huxtables from every aspect. We were not them at all. But I think what I came to realize was this was the first time where I was watching. I say watch. I was a part of it, but I was still a viewer. But this was the first time there was a sitcom experience with Black people where the humor was not predicated upon being Black.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like,
all right. Okay, listen, everybody. We have gotten the messages. We've seen the posts. So on this night of remembrance, in so many ways, Malcolm really left the mic on because his message, the person who he was, it lives on. It speaks to how he reshaped the way that young Black men are seen on TV. He carried the torch with grace to show us how to shift the national imagination, even to his adulthood, with pure consistency. He would always say, he would tell all of us, listen, going for the parts, for the ratings, that's never going to replace his sense of self. And that's why he did the podcast in the first place, to shape the narrative about how they see us. I co-hosted Not All Hood with Malcolm, and I'm here with Lane Fontes. He's the executive producer of the podcast, as well as Troy Harris Jr., producer and creative director. And we spent a lot of time with him, so we are sharing. We're sharing some private video. We want you to share with us. We want this to be a whole thing where we all just convene around what we know about this man. What we always like to say is whatever you thought good about Malcolm, like that friend in your head, if you didn't know him, all those good things, they were wonderfully true. They really were. And I know that Troy and Lane can agree with me based upon just some of the memories they've had too.
Lane, you're muted.
Oh, Lane, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
That's all right.
There we go. That was a rookie mistake. So first, comrades, thank you for showing up today. We're here because Malcolm mattered. He mattered to all of us, not just for what he created, but for how he made us feel heard, valued. His life was rooted in love, truth, deep belief that we could all be better. So as individuals and as a community. So today's a circle that, a space that we sit in, just to talk about Malcolm moments, some gratitude, some reflection, and, process this together.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to first thank you guys for joining us here on our platform to make sure that we just created this space, like Candace said, to just share good moments and good times that Malcolm kind of helped provide for all of us, be it on the TV screen or right here in person. So thank you and welcome.
Yeah. Now, for those people who are watching online, you can go to our Not All Hood platforms, and there is a link where you can get on there. For those people, we're simulcasting on a few places. So for those people who are not on with us yet, all right, because you can go live with us and speak, just know that if you go to our platforms, there is a link where you can come in and you can speak with us. So just go to our platforms, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram, right, folks? I'm asking Lane and Troy here, and you can join us in this conversation. I want to just make sure that people know, too, that this is going to be some appointed guests, if you will, as well as some people like you good people who we've been hearing from so much. We actually are going to bring in Torre. I think that Torre is ready to come in. Let me speak to my producer here. We're going to bring him in. And we're going to bring in a lot of people on this evening. We're going to bring in people to talk about grief. We're going to bring in people who know Malcolm personally. For those of you who are familiar with the podcast, there are many, many people who are going to be on here tonight who've been on the past podcast or who are even scheduled for the podcast that we were going to have. We were going to be recording on August the 21st. So that all of this is a process that we are working through. And we really are working through it with you. And that's why we want to commune in and around this. Is Torre ready to come up on the big screen? If not, listen, we could talk this whole way through with other people. That is no problem. But I think that Torre will be popping up with us. That being said, those of you who want to comments, we're going to read some of the comments. Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Yeah,
How are you? How are you?
I'm not going to speak for us all, but it has been a very rough week. But we are here, and it is amazing to celebrate Malcolm. I know that you know him personally on an intimate level, and we were having you on to really give us the cultural context and some memories that you have of Malcolm, a space for you to share.
Oh my God. I mean, we did a great interview last year on my podcast, Torre Show. I want to get into that a little bit, but just starting from the beginning, I am 6 months younger, maybe 7 months younger than Malcolm. So what his character, Theo, was going through was the same things that I was. So I saw him as a brother, which is a testament to his ability to play the role, to get me to see him as a kin. And I mean, everybody loved him. Everybody thought he was cool. Actually, he told me he did not think that Theo was cool, and he asked the writers, can you make him more cool? Because I think he's corny. And he, as an adult, he understood the value of having Theo in that lane of being a little more corny, which is what fueled him to be really liked all over the place. I can tell you how liked he was. We were at the same Jack and Jill party when we were both, I believe we were juniors in high school. It was in New York City. This was like the tri-state area, like all the Jack and Jill chapters from around like come together for this party at the Copa, the big annual like tri-state gathering. I was from one of the Boston chapters. And I remember being there, and then, like, the dance floor was like below the other floor, so you'd like walk down into it, and you could walk down into it from any of the squares. And when Malcolm arrived, everybody's head turned, because this is the Cosby Show, I think, was third season at that point, so they were hot as fish grease. So everybody turned. He walked into the dance floor with his arms up like this, like, I am here. And like every girl turned to start being dancing with him, even if she wasn't near him. She was like, so none of the guys were like, so we have nobody. And he just took basically all the girls at the party. But you know, he was such a nice guy. When we talked, he talked a lot about Theo is not going to be my zenith. This is not going to be the end of my career. Like, I'm going to go much further than this. And he said something really interesting too about how he got started, with people around him noticing him as a child actor exuding it factor. And I think for sure that was the case, but you don't usually hear people say that about themselves, but he's saying to me that he had it factor without communicating ego or airs, but just like, this is one of the tools that I happen to have. You know, I could speak another language, I could walk, and I could like, you know, project a certain it factor. And it wasn't like I was the main, I mean, everything was very down to earth and humble, even though he had come from so high. I found him to be really interesting, really smart. We actually had a great little moment too about Meghan Markle, because people were talking shit about she's tried to hide her blackness. I'm like, I don't think so. I'm like, you were on Suits with her. Did you know she was black? And he said, well, of course I did, but more importantly, she knew. And I'm like, that means you took the time to see her and really like check in with like who she was as a person. But also, I'm like, that's the key answer. Y'all out here talking about, well, I don't think like she knew that she was black. Like, so just, you know, it's just a fascinating conversation and an honor to meet him, and just a lovely, lovely guy.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. You said he checked in with people. Malcolm did a lot of that. He did a lot of checking in with people. You know, if you look at the posts online, he was always following up. He was really detailed and intentional with really connecting and checking in with people.
But I think like you can be a good actor by being a student of people. And I think that's partly what he's bringing to bear, that he's like looking deeply at people and really paying attention to others. And I think some of us get stuck only thinking about ourselves. And, you know, it's admirable when you can spend more time thinking about others. And I think that he was able to like see others in a way that allowed him to really, you know, replicate other people. We actually had a really open and frank conversation about Malcolm and Eddie, which was totally different than his Cosby experience.
Can you break it down? Because, you know, these are the things that people should know about.
He said we hated each other, and referring to him and Eddie. And the way he explained it was that Malcolm had come from the Cosby School, in that on the Cosby Show was very important to show Black people in a positive, uplifting, empowering light. And that show was amazing for that. And he wanted to bring that forward through the rest of his television life. And he wanted Malcolm and Eddie to be like these. And he's like, on Cosby Show, we had mostly white writers. We got shitty scripts, and he had to go in there and like change stuff. Like, so don't think like everything was just handed to us. So, you know, it seems like Eddie, per Malcolm's description, came from more of the Richard Pryor school of things. And I am the biggest Richard Pryor fan there is, but I think by that he meant just go for the funny. And I could see where Eddie would be like, let's just make him laugh. And Malcolm would be like, but we could also uplift and educate and do so much more within the broadcast and the fabric of, and Eddie being like, nigga, can we just make him laugh? You know what I mean? And like, but Malcolm held to his principles and the way that he felt like television should be done, which is that it should be uplifting to Black people. And that was a big source of the conflict between them.
Yeah. Listen, I know that you have to get out of here and we've got other guests. I just wanna thank you, but we can certainly identify, especially when we select guests, which by the way, Tori was gonna be one of our next guests mid-August. But Lane, if you just could explain how the guest selection process was very intentional, because Malcolm will be like, no, we're not having. Do we want that person?
Yeah.
What do they
It was
represent?
always very intentional, and sometimes it was very grueling, right? It could go on for hours, but honestly, we put a lot of thought to it. Malcolm put a lot of thought to it. So, so even pulling you out of the hat, it was like, oh, he's perfect. Actually, we didn't think too much about you, actually. It was just like,
Yeah, you were not a 3-hour person. And
no, you were not. You were a quickie in. We kind of moved over and brushed over.
Pause, brother. But it's such an honor thank you, for Malcolm to think that of me, because I thought that of him for my show, and the entire time that I knew who he was, I thought of him, from teenagers as like, just dope person, thought the world of him, and then to meet him and for you to say like he wanted to talk to me like that, like, come on, forget about it. Oh my God.
And another thing he was very big and intentional on is, well, what are we going to talk about? And what's going to be the lesson for our audience? But again, with you, that didn't occur at all. It was like, let's go, greenlit, let's do it.
Right.
Oh,
So
that means a lot. That means a lot.
We thank you for tonight, sir. And we're going to let you go, and we'll see you next time. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much. So sorry for your loss.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. As we move on, we know that there are some people that want to jump on. I think that do we have Danny still? I mean, we're talking about someone from the community who wants to get on. Is Danny? We can pop up Danny. Listen, folks, when you get on, you have about a minute and a half. We know that's not a lot, but it allows us to get more people on. Hello, how are you doing?
I was muted. Hi.
Hi, it's good to see you. It's good to see you with a smile on your face. I know why Danny got in. Danny got in because you work on The Resident, and you were Malcolm's makeup artist. And let me tell you, makeup artists will get to know a lot of information. Very intentional and intentional. We just open up to makeup artists. And I know that you had a lot of thoughts about Malcolm, and were very close with him over the years.
Yes, I was. Malcolm was a phenomenal person. He was a phenomenal human being. So I wrote this post about how I felt about him on my page, but I wrote about his character today specifically for this, and I wanted to share that with you guys.
All right.
Let's do it.
So I wrote that he was sophisticated, regal, intelligent, multifaceted, honest, disciplined, and authentic. These are my favorite adjectives that I like to use to describe him. His personality and smile was infectious. The level of integrity and grace that he continually showcased could have actually been a case study. His compromise couldn't touch him with a 1,000-foot pole. He stood firm on core principles that mattered most to him, like culture, character, love, vulnerability, and masculinity. He handled people with caution and care, regardless of their tenure with him. His light ignited hearts and the hearts and minds of millions across the world. He was indeed one of a kind, a magnificent example of brilliance personified. His legacy is a standard of excellence that is both inspiring and impactful. Although God called him home, his purpose, kindness, and impact will live on. Rest well, MJW.
I also know that, Tori talked about him going into writer's room and saying, hey, this script right here, yeah, not so much.
Oh,
He
yeah.
did the same. He did this. You saw him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So they would write something. So, in our industry, they have these things called sides. So, which is basically like what you're talking about for the day. So he'd look at it. And then if it was something that was ridiculous, he'd like storm in there and he's like, well, man, they're going to change this. Like if it was not about, if it wasn't about what was effective for the culture, everything that he did was intentional. I think I heard like Lane say that was a core principle of his. So it was bigger than him. So if he's seen something that didn't sit well with him, he was going to amplify it. He was going to change it. So it really wasn't about him. How does this translate to the culture? How does this benefit Black men? How does this benefit Black women? He was very much that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I also know that he was about family, and I know that's going to be a theme for here. He was about family. So, I know that people, when they hear about, his passing and all of these mixed reviews, I mean, the one thing that we just need to explain is how much family meant to this man. I mean, there was never a day, never a time. He wrote me once and he said, am I mentioning my family too much on this? I said, go with it, brother. That is okay. Go with it. People want to hear that. I was like, tell your story, It is okay to mention your wife and daughter every other minute.
He absolutely adored his daughter. He adored his mom. He adored his wife. Like, that's just who he was. His dad, he would always, talk about the man that he is and, the origin of his name. And he loved family, but also he loved people. So he's a person that, when he would go out somewhere and, he would be dog tired because Malcolm is like always falling asleep somewhere on set. He's like off in a corner somewhere asleep because he's a million and one things like juggling in the air. He's like, he has a set at a show. He's like practicing for one thing and he's like reading lines for another show. And while he's on a show and he just had all these things going on. And so he'd be dog tired and he never called his fans. He never did that. So if someone would come up to him and be like, oh my God, Theo, in the industry that I work in, if you call an actor by their name, like their stage name, they hate that. He was never that. So if you'd be like, oh my God, Theo, can I get a selfie? He'd say, sure. Sure.
Every time.
You're going to never see him attached to a scandal. He would never take a role that was like, that misappropriated the culture. Like you won't see him playing a drug dealer or you'll never see him playing, a womanizer or anything that misappropriates or any misrepresentation of a Black male or the culture, at large. He'd never do it.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, I want to thank you. For being with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll talk
We
soon.
appreciate you.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you, Danny.
Yeah, I know that we in the back of all this we have LaRon, and he is working us through those folks who are going to be on air. After this next guest, we are really going to pull people from the community, or do we want to do that now? I just want to make sure that I know exactly where we are.
Pull one more. Let's pull one more.
Yeah. So, Dr. Jay Barnett, is he in the house already? Many of you might know Dr. Jay Barnett from Just Hill, bro. All right, I see you shaking your head, Troy. Yeah, he's the one. He's the one because what we are experiencing is a collective grief. I finally kind of came up for air today to call many people back. And, the people who I was on the phone with who did not know Malcolm personally, they were crying hard, crying. And they were just so profoundly moved by who he was as a person. And I think that that's also the effect that we saw, Lane, when we would go out, because people weren't just, screaming at him like the Beatles. They were like, I am proud of you like my son, my brother. my person. That's exactly how he was.
It was. And
All right, real quick, I'm trying to get Jason on.
Yes.
So give me a moment.
Sure, Dr. J. That's all right. Go ahead, Lane. You were talking about,
Oh no, I was going to springboard of what you said. Like sometimes, honestly, being out with Malcolm, it was like being out with the Beatles sometimes. The moment that someone recognizes them, and it was like a magnet. But it was always great praise, and it was always the conversation of how you changed my life. And it was moving.
Yeah. Troy, you remember that time where we had a guest and he was actually moved by Bill Cosby, the Cosby Show, the history of it, and he broke down crying. And then what did Malcolm do?
Malcolm actually, it's Uncle Mike, it's Ray Daniels' uncle. Malcolm actually called Bill Cosby on the phone right away because his story resonated with the story that Bill Cosby was showing at the time about people in the Navy. Uncle Mike was in the Navy at the time. So he was able to just sit there and talk to him, I want to say for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that to me was so golden, but it kind of just showed and personified the person that Malcolm is.
Yeah,
and it's not something that Malcolm usually did either. So it was funny when he did that. It was so quiet because I remember you saying, I thought he had a doctor's appointment and he was talking to his doctor about something because he said, hold on, doctor. And then he came back and he handed over the phone and it was Bill Cosby on the phone.
Dr. Bill Cosby, right. Yeah, I was mistaken. I said, wait, there's a problem, There's a doctor. He's speaking to a doctor. I was all wrong. But, what he did for that man in that moment, after he got off, he said, I've never done that before, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people come to him and say, oh, ooh. But at that point, he was like, this man who's broken down in tears, Malcolm was a connector. Malcolm was a connector of people. He would see something, he would see somebody, and he would say, you know what? I've got something for you. I've got help for you. I've got a person for you. Oh, good. We've got someone on here. It's good to see you. We would love to hear your thoughts. Uh-oh.
It's hard to hear you. I know this is Big Bear, though.
Uh-oh, we're having a little problem hearing you. Want to get a little closer for us? He's almost there.
Yeah.
All right.
Come in a little closer.
No, it's not him. It's on our end. It's not capturing his sound for some reason.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's okay. The beat is on as we talk. Because, Malcolm definitely was a connector of people, and we saw that all the time. When we would have our podcast, people would come and record. And when they would record, they would always stay a little while, right? I know Troy loves that because they felt like home, and that really was in large part because of Malcolm, and he would stay and he would engage with the very time thereafter. All right, can we have you talk and we'll get a test on you, sir? Okay, it's still an issue on our end, LaRon?
Yes, we can hear you.
No, go ahead, sir. We heard you.
Yeah, all right, we heard you. Sir, good to see you. The mic is open for you to share about Malcolm.
Oh, now we can't anymore.
Okay, we can hear you.
We can hear you, Big Bear.
The mic is open for you to share about Malcolm.
Yes. Is that you, Candace?
Yes, it is.
Candace.
Okay. I met Malcolm in 1990. My friend and brother Barshaw was doing a video, and Malcolm was the director. and one of the cameras broke down, and so we were able to talk. And it was just amazing that I'm meeting this young man. He's younger than me, but I watched him on TV, and now we're sitting here talking, and he was just the humblest person. Asked us if we wanted to come down to the Cosby Show, and we went down there. I met Mr. Cosby and everybody, and I can't even remember which episode it was we went for the taping, but we stayed connected. He plugged me in to the photographer that I got my headshot, you know, my Instagram, Big Bears everywhere. I got my headshot on there. And he started this podcast. And we reconnected last year at the live, I think it might have been the first live taping of the podcast.
Yep, in New Jersey.
Like, it was like we just saw each other the week before. And from that, we exchanged numbers again, and we stayed in contact at least every couple of weeks we called. And I knew about the vacation. We had talked about it to one of the events. But tragically, you know, my son, Shaheem, died by suicide, and we started a foundation on my son, and I had been talking about him bringing a band to one of our events. And when I got the news, I got home from work, and I took a nap. And when I woke up, my phone had like 50, 60 messages. When I looked, I was like, nah, somebody playing around. Then I made my phone calls to people. And I got the news. Today's Friday. I'm still in the fog. I'm working now, going to do some medical. I'm still in the fog about everything. And, you know, it's just unbelievable. He was a very humble guy, gracious. He made you feel, you know, more important. It was like a couple of times he would text me or call me like, you know, apologize when I get back. And I was like, man, I already know what skills you got. You'll get it was just, that was just his character. He wanted you to feel good.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? Looking at you, I now remember you.
I was going to say.
Yeah. Well,
you remember Big Bear.
That's how I knew exactly who he was as soon as he came on.
The albums that he did and the poetry that he's done, now that's going to be out there even more. It's like that. Why couldn't the flowers and everything have been done while he was here? You know, more people must knew about all that. Now, the mass is going to know.
Well, I want to jump in because we have space for other folks to also share stories like you. I actually have some great pictures of you I want to send you from that day. But we are going to let you go now. We have other people that are on. We just want to thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Big Bear.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'll reach out to him. So I do have some good pictures. It came back to me. All right, Dr. J. Barnett is coming up next. As we work up, our next person is going to share some personal stories or just, you know, what they loved about Malcolm. Remember him. Dr. J. Barnett, is he available? I think that he is on the line. But, you know, his story was like many, many stories. I mean, it could be just years going by, and Malcolm would take you back into his home. We saw it a lot of times, and I do remember them. I mean, they embraced, they looked at each other. I remember that very well. I've got some great pictures. We did a lot of live events when we could see people come out. That time we were out with Raheem Devon in New Jersey, and we were talking about issues about mental health and understanding where we came from and what's in our DNA and how do we fix problems. Again, something in terms of a show content that Malcolm curated. How do we handle ourselves when it comes to being vulnerable and mental health? He always had a message and a mission. I mean, it could be just a regular Tuesday. Malcolm was going to have a message and a mission.
Literally, every time. Oh, man.
All right, LeBron, I think that we've got Dr. Jay Barnett from Just Heal, bro. If you could pull him up, really heal him.
Quick question. Dr. J is not in the queue right now.
Okay. Who do we have in the queue?
We have Jessica.
Okay. All right. We have let's roll some video from Jessica, because Jessica gave us some behind the scenes exclusive stuff in terms of the resident. So we're going to roll a little bit of those pictures, see Malcolm in action, and then we're going to hear from Jessica Mizell. She is from the resident. She gives us going to give us a lot of insight about Malcolm and what he brought on set. So here we go.
Wait a minute.
Social media's gonna have a good time with this one. So I grew up.
Your billing with the Titian, non-existent.
I am aware. Good talk.
The Titian's a $2 million machine. Chastain needs to make a return on its investment.
Well, the former is not my fault. The latter is not my concern.
Your contract has a billing quota,
which I exceed consistently. Okafor, show them the numbers.
Well, you better have those numbers.
Somewhere, someone's got numbers. Take a gander. Good talk.
All right, so a lot of people that have seen Malcolm on The Resident, they love that character. All right, let's bring Jessica up. She's coming. Hello, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
All right, we are hanging in there, Jessica. I know that you have a lot to say. You were so excited to be on here with us tonight. We're really just going to open up the floor like we have done with other people tonight to share with us just some of your thoughts. Thank you for sharing those pictures with us. It must have been great to work with Malcolm, I can imagine, because you were very excited to say, bring me on tonight. Bring me on.
Yeah, no, I had the privilege of working with him for 5 seasons. And, as you know, he was a brilliant surgeon, and I was always his funny little scrub nurse in the surgery scenes. But something I've kind of been reflecting on since, I got the news, is, so I don't know what the right word is, if the word is like strange or surreal, but it's such an odd thing and horrible to lose a former colleague and friend. And he was also my neighbor as well. We lived like just a block down the street from each other. But it's so strange to lose someone like that and then see them kind of in tabloids and all over the news. It's just a very odd experience, but it's also put in perspective for me his greatness. And I don't even know if he was fully aware of it, or if he was, it never impacted the way that he treated people. I think that's the thing I was so taken by when I first met him, because I was nervous because he came on with us for season 2. And, obviously I knew who he was, and he seemed like a great guy, but you just never know before you meet somebody if you're going to be disappointed in someone you admire. But he exceeded my expectations. And I was so struck by his endless curiosity, and his warmth and his elegance. But mainly his ability to make me and others feel like an equal. I never felt like he was looking down on anybody else, and I don't even think that was something he had to be conscious of. I think it was effortless. I think it was at his would be like, no, I need to be grateful that I am here today. And I'm always going to carry that with me forever.
Oh, that's wonderful. Jessica, thank you for your time. Thank you for
You're so welcome.
Sharing all of that. We really appreciate you this evening over there in California. Wait, no, you're in Atlanta.
I'm in Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Right, you guys are down there. All right. We appreciate you. Thank you for wanting to be a part of this.
Oh my.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
That was beautiful. One of the things she said, the gratitude, and that's how Malcolm started his day with gratitude and the 10 things he's grateful for, and his gratitude walks. So
that's right. His gratitude walks.
Gratitude
that's right.
walks. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Good morning walks. He would come in and say, "Oh, I took," or sometimes we'd be in the middle of a show at the beginning. He'd say, "Oh, I got up this morning. I took a gratitude walk," and that's a big deal. It was just a wonderful day, a wonderful way for him to anchor himself. It seemed to have a really, really good day. If Dr. Barnett or anyone else is popping in, LaRon, you can just pop them in wherever, and we will adjust to the folks.
Yeah, we had someone in the green room that just stepped out, so they might have to pop back in. But you want to try to pull up another Zoom call?
Yeah,
sure, let's hear that. Yeah, let's hear from the audience. Yeah. Sometimes he would start the show. Remember, y'all, he said, let's start every single show with what's good.
What's good?
What's good?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'd be like, it's 2025. Okay, I'm going to have to work a little harder on what's good. But he would always encourage, there's something good. There's something good.
Is there anybody in the audience who want to have anything to say? Also, this is live on YouTube as well, guys.
Yes, it is live on YouTube. It is live on all the Not All Hood channels. There's a link where you can get in. Oh, do I see a Dr. Is that a Dr. Black?
Dr. Daniel Black?
Yes. Dr. Daniel Black. I'm not sure if he knows who that he is on, but for anybody who is familiar with Hidden in Plain View, we heard about Malcolm playing the trumpet. Malcolm also taught himself to play the bass, okay?
Bass, yeah.
And we know, right, because y'all have been to some of his shows, he could play that bass like he was born with it. So he taught himself the trumpet, taught himself the bass, but the reason I mentioned Dr. Black is because Dr. Black is on his album, but as well, he has been a mentor to Malcolm for many, many years. So much so, he wasn't invited on the podcast. Not once. Right, Troy? Not twice. But 3 times, okay? So we know that this was someone who was highly respected. I think Dr. Black is trying to get his bearings together. We're going to work on it. We know that he is here with us. We're going to let him get situated. Maybe I will text him in the meantime.
Yes, I was going to say, let's text him, and we could run his video while you text him, so then he can be pulled in.
All right, yeah, let's see, because as we said, he's been on the show 3 times, so we definitely have some video, and you can see why he has had such a profound effect.
Yeah, instead of telling me, Dr. Black, I fucks with you. Right.
My bad, let me pull it up.
All right.
Yeah, instead of telling me, Dr. Black, I fucks with you. Right. With me?
Like
with
that?
Me?
With those words?
But what's so brilliant, and the reason I use this is because every time students have said it, they're horrified, right? They're absolutely horrified that they offended me. Like, oh, no, I was really saying that you my boy. This is my favorite class. Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I said, brother, I knew what you were saying.
Absolutely. And my mother was like, I don't care who pays the bills. I'm still the mama. So I washed dishes. So the first time I was able to find a place that had a dishwasher We had a place with a dishwasher. Yeah. I still loaded the dishes. But all of those chores, like that stuff did not change. And my mother was very clear that nothing changes around here.
I love that.
And that obviously that has served me.
Absolutely.
And again, that kind of order.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look at my journey and my path and where I am, like that kind of order.
Right. And that answers your question then when we circle back. And that is, your daughter has got to wash those same dishes.
Right.
If we're going to get the fruit out of her that we get out of this.
So I tell my daughter.
I'm going to put this part on loop.
Man. Oh, every time I hear that, it just makes me think of Malcolm, because I can't tell you how many times we've been in the middle of a conversation and Malcolm was washing dishes.
Right. That's right. We would be on meetings and we would
you know, I told me, Dr. Black, I fucks with you. Right.
Yeah.
All right. I saw the good doctor getting ready, but yeah, and you know, the theme that we also heard of when we were talking about that before, you know, is his daughter, right? You know, just those cherished moments. You know, I remember one night he said, you know, my daughter loves to, you know, sleep out in the backyard under a tent and watch the stars. So tonight we're going to be going to do that. And it was just wonderful to hear just everything that his daughter was doing and how he was so present in her life. Very private about his family. Y'all remember the couple of times where she couldn't help herself. She had to come in because she drew a picture of all of us. And she made a presentation and was like, I drew a picture. He was like, all right, this is a lost battle. Let me put her up on my lap, let her show her picture, explain some good drawings too. She did that a couple of times too. So you talk about that little girl.
The times I remember too is when Malcolm would walk away to go do something and she would just pop up from the bottom and just be on the Zoom.
Right. Just pop up. All right, I see Dr. Black. Hey, Dr. Black, Dr. Black. We are getting Dr. Black. So,
Dr. Black, can you see us?
There we go.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm trying to get away from this noise.
I see.
Hold on. I know what to do. Hold on.
Hey, listen. We will wait. We will wait for the man who was on the show 3 times.
Oh my goodness! Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Now, Malcolm would say, "Oh no, you're going to wait for Dr. Black because you were revered. You are his mentor. You are someone who he highly respected, and you know he transitioned us all in with you. And you know it was really beautiful. I know that your insight is really going to take this to the next level about his impact, not just on the world, which is what we're dealing with, but just on kind of the cultural trajectory that he was a part of. He then brought that to his family and his work at all times.
Yes. Well, you know, I'd say a couple of things, and thank you all for including me in this platform, and this is very healing. I'm so grateful, and to all those who are listening, thank you all for gathering. Because in moments like this, we as African people, the strength of who we are is in each other. None of us carries the kind of strength to bear this kind of burden alone, right? In our distress, we gather. Because in gathering, we find power. And there are 3 quick things I'd like to say about Malcolm. One of those is that Malcolm believed in the power of the word. He believed in the magic of poetry. He believed in the power of literature. He believed that that words have life, and words have life force. And he absolutely believed that a person who could put words together was a person who could construct reality. He believed that a person who knew vocabulary, who knew the expanse of the human tongue, was a person who possessed the power to create, which is why he was always playing with words, right? And so in my head, you know, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and that Word was Malcolm. And it always moved me how he absolutely believed that if we could say a thing right, that the words would do a work that human beings and human beingness could never ever achieve. The second thing that I think is so beautiful about Malcolm is that he absolutely honored and worshiped a thing called fatherhood. When, in fact, the way we met, Malcolm's mother, dear Mama Pam, read a book I wrote called Perfect Peace, and she told Malcolm about it. He called me, etc., and we started talking, and Malcolm was asking me about fatherhood and about how fatherhood works and what wisdom might I give him about being a father. And what was so beautiful is he was already an excellent daddy, right? But he was trying to figure out how to have no flaws at all as a father. He wanted to give his daughter a father that was so excellent and so pristine and so magnificent that she would find no fault in him. And as a black man, I thought that was just the most remarkable thing, that a young black girl would get to grow up and say, I was raised by a Christ. You know, somebody who was so careful about how he treated me and what he said to me and how he loved me and how he honored me and how he honored my mother, right? His wife. And so Malcolm's commitment to fatherhood, I think, was something. I think it was literally something out of this world. And then the third thing that I want to say, which I think is so very, 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 very important, is I think Malcolm transitioning in the water is so unbelievably symbolically important. I think it's so important, and to have done so in the ocean, where for all practical purposes our first ancestors reside, those who were thrown overboard or those who lost their lives in the Middle Passage, right? In my imagination, those ancestors gathered and met him in the water, right, and literally dressed him and told him that he was needed in a realm greater and higher up than this realm. And so for me to understand what really has happened here and to really come to terms with knowing who Malcolm is, I think Malcolm thought of all of us. I think he literally thought of all of us on this platform. I feel like he thought of his mother and his daughter and his wife. I think he thought of all of us. And having been convinced that he could be more useful to us in the invisible, I think Malcolm surrendered. And what that means is he loved us. See, it's not just that he was a nice guy. He was that. He was that. He was absolutely that. But he loved us. And I think, this is just my own feeling, I think Malcolm loved us so much that he agreed to go in order to move things in the ancestral realm on our behalf while we were yet in this realm. I believe that. I believe it. It took me minutes to get there. But I absolutely believe it because I think his love for us, his love for black people was so extraordinary, just so remarkable, that I think his moving was absolutely positively a decision to love us. And we'll see it. We will see it. If we'll keep our eyes open, we'll see the fullness of it. And so I honor you, Brother Malcolm. I love you. I lift you up and I magnify you. And I thank you, I thank you, I thank you for what I know and what I don't know. But what I do know is I thank you. Thanks, y'all.
Listen, I want to say one thing. I think we have seen so much of it already. You know, I was speaking to someone, a reporter, and she said the story, when they posted it, got 4 million views. That was bigger than the royal wedding.
Wow.
And we were just shocked. But it speaks to the impact and what you're talking about and how people are understanding and realizing the message that he was giving, because it was strong. It was, like he said, it was so strong. If you were in his presence, you knew exactly what his mission was.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And thank y'all for giving me space on the platform. This helps, and it helps to heal me. So just thank y'all tremendously. Love you.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll be back. Good to see you, good doctor. All right.
Black. Thank you, Dr. Black.
See y'all.
Yeah. I know that we have other people that want to speak. I know that the three of us could. We've got stories for days, but we're going to give people the chance to speak. I've got a lot of people that have been DMing me, texting me, and really I want to hear from other people because my story with him, has been shared in different magazines and all that. So it's not about me on this night. We're all just kind of managing the folks who want to speak. So, LaRon, I don't know if we have anybody else here.
No, we don't have nobody else in the queue right now, but if you could try to pull up a Zoom, I could try to pull the Zoom up.
Let's pull up a Zoom. Let's pull up a Zoom here. Yep, Malcolm will truly be missed. Made an impact on everyone he came in contact with. Toyera, that is the truth. We have seen it. We have seen it. All right, as we bring up someone, we were going into our second year of Not All Hood.
Not All Hood. Mm-hmm.
Interest had really grown, Troy, and Troy, I know you're African American studies, right? That's your and I just want you to speak to just kind of why you think the podcast, which again came from Malcolm, why you think it resonated with so many people, especially to hear it through his voice that was a Malcolm's.
I think kind of similar to like what Dr. Black just said. Like when we gather in numbers is just powerful. You know what I mean? And I think being able to have a platform where we could speak about what we wanted to talk about while also not saying anything bad and just be 100% us was very important and is very important. Like it's good for the platform we have because we're telling stories that aren't told often. Usually, like you mentioned, the road that Malcolm wouldn't take are normal roles and identifiers of us as a people. So I think having a different conversation and one that people could picture themselves having in the living room, dining room table is very important.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw that, Lane. As we worked through guests, as we worked through people, there was a real intentionality about what he wanted the show to look like. Because here's one thing that we know about Malcolm, that he believed in legacy, knew the torch that he carried, and was not going to mess with that. I don't care how many times I suggested some other shows where folks weren't in, they were playing all, they were in all different types of roles. He would just say, no, I would never be on that show. I'm not interested. I don't care. And I'm actually not excited.
Respectfully, though.
Some of these shows have some good writing. No.
But respectfully. It was always respectfully, though.
Right. Respectfully. Respectfully, but what you're watching is bringing down the black race. I'd be like, okay. Respectfully, though.
Yeah, I think Torre touched on some of that.
Yeah. Do we have somebody in the queue?
I don't see anyone on.
No.
Well,
okay.
no.
Zoom.
Well, I do have a question somebody asked. They said, are you guys going to keep the podcast going?
Absolutely. The podcast this is the conversations we were having about community. It was big. That was the thing, right? It was the first of all, we feel like we're in our living room, right? We're talking about the Black experience. We're opening up the floor for the Black experience. We want to talk to everyone. There are 47 million Black people in America, and we wanted to actually live each person's experience. We wanted to hear everyone's voice. So are we going to keep this going? This was part of Malcolm's legacy, creating room for our voices and our stories and collective growth. So, so we invite everyone to please stay engaged and subscribe to the conversation and join the conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think about what he would want, how he would want it. I think he would be on a yes to continue it. I will say I will have to have more internal conversations in and around it. It's just, it's just a process, because going through the grief and have not fully thought about it yet. But I know how important this creating a narrative is where we have choice. He would explain it that, when we create these narratives about Black people, we allow for greater humanity because we allow for other people to see us in a different way that they may not have ever seen, may not have ever interacted with someone of color. So that now if you tell a story that they're identifying with by flipping the channel or on a podcast, that helps them see the humanity in someone else. And that is the power of storytelling. We were always talking about storytelling in some way, whether we were telling a story, whether it was a story that he saw, we talked about Broadway plays, movie suggestions, there'd be a running list that we would share with each other about shows that we thought embodied what we wanted to see more of growing up. In that clip that we heard earlier, he said, that there was just such a dearth of Black people on TV that we were just so thirsty for anybody on TV. We would have taken anything. But in 2025, we don't have to. And that was his point.
I have a quick pivot if you guys up to it or not. Instead of Zoom calls, we might take phone calls.
Sure, absolutely. Let's do that. We really just want to hear the voice of folks. So let us do that. Let us do that.
Let me try to set it up in the back end. And while I do that, you guys keep it going.
Sure. And we appreciate people hanging out with us. This is the first time that we have all spoken collectively like this, kind of in more of a feeling of joy, right, Troy? As opposed to, well, this headline said this and this headline said that. And it was just distressing, and it really is not what Malcolm represented in terms of these headlines and thinking of him in that way. Very consuming, but this is the real story. This is the story that Malcolm, definitely would have wanted been told. Dr. Black was right. I remember Malcolm said to me, I really do hope, because I would talk about my father a lot, who passed a while ago, 5 years ago, but, I revere my father. And he said, wow, you know what? I hope that my daughter, just like Dr. Black said, I hope that my daughter reveres me the way that you revere your dad. Oh, I hope for that so much. He was like, I am going to get this perfect dad trophy. Watch me. Really, he really was grounded in that process. And it was really lovely to see. It was. Yeah.
Oh, real quick, someone asked how you guys are doing.
Troy, Lane. I appreciate that. I see the message there.
Go ahead, Lane. Lane had something.
Surreal. I kind of feel from a Dr. Black sentiment. There's also these ebbs and flows that it's. I'm digesting right now. I'm digesting. I had a lot more colorful language about it earlier this week, but I really am digesting. We like I said, we spent a lot of time with Malcolm. Whether it was, so it feels like just seeing the three of us on the phone, there's a gap. Because there was always the four of us on the phone, whether it was or texting or going back and forth or throwing ideas. I'd say, I just told someone yesterday, I said, when we got on the call, the work call, while we were supposed to be going through, things we were supposed to digest through the podcast, 70% of the time, it was us shooting the shit, excuse my language. And then the other 30% of the time, we might have got some work, right? whether we came in with an agenda or not, right? That's how it went. So there's, I don't, I don't know, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot for me to be speechless. I won't lie.
Yes, and he does. To that, Troy. I know that I called you this morning just to check on you. I know I'm putting you on the spot here. But it's good to share. There's really a collective healing that comes in sharing. And you just talked about being numb.
Yeah. So, like you just mentioned, I'm kind of doing. I won't say I'm doing bad or good, but just kind of doing. Like Lane just mentioned too. I did the math. We've been doing this for about 2 years. There's 52 weeks in a year. We talk at least once a year. That's 100 times that we would talk and just be engulfed in each other's lives. And just processing not being able to do that has been a bit difficult. But I try not to spill that out on everyone else. So I'm just doing and just mentally doing the work, I guess you can say, to make sure that we continue to lift his legacy and do things like this to make sure that we kind of help fill that void that people now have for what he provided. And I think that's the best way I can put it in words.
Mm-hmm. And it's a process. I mentioned that my dad had passed 5 years ago, but I just took a bereavement class this year because it just wasn't coming together. I just finished it at the beginning of April. And so when this happened, it triggered a lot, but, and I had a lot of downtime, but I am glad to be speaking in volumes about him in this way, because that's the good part. The good part was the life he lived. We're talking about storytelling. That's a good story. Malcolm's story is a good story. There were a few other people who passed this week, and one of the headlines was, "We're running through the scandals of Mr. Hulk Hogan." There's not going to be anything like that. That was actually one of the headlines. Here are the scandals of Hulk Hogan. I said, "There's not going to be a headline like that for Malcolm." They're just not. They're just not here. High standards. And the weight of what we are seeing now in terms of the cultural torch that he carries, you didn't see that on him. He really handled it beautifully. Like, it could have gone either way. But he handled it beautifully, I think, Lane, from day one. Just, let's get to work. Let's get to work.
All right. So we have Kimberly in the green room. Can we add her in?
Okay, yeah, let's add Kimberly Latrice Jones, who, friend to the show. Also, people know her as author, social activist. When her face comes on, if you don't know it, you will connect the dots with Kimberly. So we really appreciate her coming on. Hey there, how are you?
I'm grand. How are you guys?
All right, we are grand to see you. I know that. Kimberly, yeah, friend to the show. In fact, you were booked to come back on. We were going to see you. Yeah.
I remember, hold on, Candace, real quick. I remember when it happened. Kim was like, she texted me right away, "Troy, I know it's not true. These tabloids are lying. I'm going to see you guys on Friday." And I almost broke down. I forced myself to laugh, but I certainly almost broke down. I was like, "Oh man, I love Kim."
Right. This can't be true. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it hits hard for a number of different reasons, and I'm wondering about your friendship and his impact on you.
Yeah, man. Jesus. Yowza. I think this has been the hardest conversation, is having to have this conversation with y'all. So when I went viral in 2020, I had a lot of people reach out to me and want to make connections with me, and in this moment look guided from me on the social justice journey. But I noticed, and this is not commentary on them, this is just, life. A lot of people by the end of 21, definitely by mid 22, had lost steam. So they have been in rapid communication with me in 2020 and maybe even some in 2021, but definitely by the end of 21, mid 22, they were no longer in communication with me. They were no longer at the forefront of their mind, and they definitely weren't trying to make a deeper connection because the high of the moment had died away. There's two people that I could think of who, in that moment when they reached out to me in 2020, decided, now you my friend. And I don't know if you know this yet, but you my friend. And this is what it is. Like, yeah, I reached out to you about that video, but you my sister now. So I want to know how you're doing. I want to know, as you continue to work for our people, how you're feeling. Are you okay? How can I support you? What can I do? How's your child? How's your life? Do you want to hang out? Do you want to get a drink? Come hang out with me. And of those two people, Malcolm is one of them. Because he really did care about the condition of his people. So making a connection with me was not a fleeting thing for him. It was not the cool thing to do in 2020 when everybody was trying to be woke. It was a genuine connection. And, recently I had a medical issue. I had a seizure, and I made a post in my Instagram stories, and I was just like, y'all, I've had this issue. I've lived with epilepsy, for 30 years, and I have not had a seizure in probably 10 years, and now I've had 3 back to back, and I need to get a handle on that and figure out, what I need to do. And I know that first steps is dieting and exercising and getting in better health, and that will help me to fight my epilepsy. And the first text message I got, which is the last text message I got from him, was from Malcolm. And I'm sorry, y'all.
It's okay. Take your time. It's okay.
And just the care and the concern, and not just like the lip service care and concern that people give, like the actual, like, what do you need me to do? Do you need me to bring juice to your house? Like, as you're on this journey, what do you need me to do, sis, to make sure you're okay? And his last statement was, because I need you. He was a real friend. And so, yeah, it's just the genuineness of his spirit. And I know people are talking a lot about his creativity, which was so much him and is so beautiful. But the thing that, to your point that you were making before I came on, I love that so much of the content right now is about his character. It's about his character.
Strong character that you could really sense from one conversation. You really could. Genuine.
So genuine. So genuine and funny.
And
funny. And
yeah,
funny.
yeah. Well, you know, we talk about, you know, the seriousness and, you know, how can I help you with you know, the drink, sis, and all that. But he was funny. He was funny. And catch you off guard, like, what'd you just say?
Listen, I told Lane the other day, I said, I am usually the person who could find the funny when somebody transitions, because that's always been my thing. Even I just gave a eulogy at my best friend's service a couple of months ago, and I like started the eulogy by saying they were playing like this sad organ music, and I was like, y'all don't need to play that for me because I ain't gonna be sad. And I was telling Lane the other day, I said, one of the things that I'm getting a kick out of, and it is making me cackle, and me and Yanaja, I was laughing about it, and I was talking to Lane about it. I was like, yo, my favorite thing right now is all the conspiracy theories around his transition, because Malcolm loved conspiracy theories so much all the time. And I was like, I saw under one of the conspiracy theories, the people were under there like, this is ridiculous. He's passed on. Cut it out. I'm like, I wanted to comment so bad, but I kept it to myself. I wanted to be like, no, don't cut it out. He would love it so much that there were so many conspiracy theories about him. I told Lane I found one where they said a mermaid took him. I'm like, he would love that.
Oh my goodness. Kimberly. Oh, you know what's funny, because when I first heard it and I got the call, and I said, first of all, I just texted him yesterday, so no. And number two, we have sat in that podcast studio and saw Malcolm when he died twice. He pulled it up. He was right there. Saw Malcolm was 500 pounds. Malcolm was 500 pounds in a wheelchair and a double amputee.
Yep.
So I was like, I reject. And yeah, no, I'm not sure why you're calling me, but I reject, because I've seen him die before, twice. Yeah, so.
Yeah, listen, no, that's why I texted Troy. I was like, they got to cut this out. This is starting to get out of hand. People actually believe this one.
Believe this, yeah.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to just start going online. I'm going to make myself a dummy account, and I'm just going to make up a bunch of conspiracies and spread them around.
You can see now. You're gonna have, that's gonna be trending now, Kimberly. Because even I'm like, I gotta get to Google on that one. Mermaid. Oh my goodness! Oh my!
It just gave validation to the person who posted that.
Exactly.
Whoever posted about the mermaid, we don't want to tell you. That is.
Oh my God.
Listen, we want to thank you for bringing, like you said, something genuine just about him, not about all the accolades, you know, that we hear and that collectively we culturally hold him in that space, but really just about him that actually deserves a lot of accolades in and of itself for the person that he was becoming, was, and worked it hard at just being better. All in the name, really, of humanity. He would literally say those words that we have a greater humanity when we reach out and collect ourselves around each other and tell the truth. So, Kim, we thank you. I'm going down the rabbit hole today. I'm gonna text you and be like, I'm gonna send you some mermaid stuff.
Yeah, send me all the theories. Send them all to me. I'm getting it out of them. You guys take care of yourselves. I will be seeing you soon.
Thank you, Kim.
You too.
Thank you for making us laugh. All right. See you
Love
next
y'all.
time. Okay. See you next time in Atlanta.
That was hilarious. Uh-oh, lost Candace. She'll be back.
I dropped Candace by mistake. She got to join back.
I was saying that Angela Bush said she
there we go.
loves Not All Hood, and asks, as you leave the mic on, what is one of Malcolm's legacies that you will continue to impart through Not All Hood?
I only heard part of it because I got disconnected, so I'm gonna baton it to y'all.
Angela, I'm sorry, Angel Bush. I said Angela. I apologize, Angel. Angel asked, "What's one of the legacies that we continue to impart through Not All Hood?"
I don't know. Y'all gonna do that to me tonight?
We'll try not to use the N word.
You know, I think I've kind of articulated it a lot, but succinctly, one of the legacies is that, especially with new media and in 2025, we all have the ability to shape the narrative. You can pop on and start a YouTube channel right now and do something good and shape the narrative. And so that platform, the bigger it is, the better. And there are a lot of media companies who don't get as many views as some of the things that we've put up. So we have to understand the power that we have and use it for good. So the legacy is really in kind of the way that, I think, the way that new media now shapes what people are thinking about culturally, what's in people's algorithms. And so to understand that and to really take this seriously and know that we can shape how people see us literally, that's the legacy that I would like to continue, and have always believed in. My thing is, my joke is, if someone has said, "Hey, have you seen?" I will say, "Yeah, I've seen it," especially if it's Black. I've watched it. I've watched the white stuff. I watch it all. Because I'm a big consumer like that. So I know that now there's a role, and there has been for the past year and a half we've been doing this, in order to connect humanity. I'm trying to pick a word that he would use. Yeah. All right. LaRon, who do we have? I know that Kim, we thanked her for coming on. Just for those of you who are with us, we've got Lamont Rucker coming up a little later, as well as Isaac Hayes, as well as your voice, to really kind of talk about Malcolm, a collective healing, a collective understanding about Blacks in this world and in America, and what his legacy meant to you. I've seen some really amazing posts from people that he's touched, which is really why we wanted to do this. This was one of the last major projects that he was very involved in, right? And, he had his band and he had this, and he was appearing on shows. But for the past year and a half, as Troy says, you do the math, like we've spoken to him, at least 100 times working on this. And so we know him in a way and been bringing on people that we hope can kind of share a different side of him. We were on the phone just to kind of really bring it down. I don't know if you remember, on the phone, and I think one of his pipes busted in the house. You know what I mean? We were on that level. It's just like, okay, just kind of regular talking and work, and oh wait, I think a pipe busted, and my daughter's birthday is this week. We saw that Malcolm, and then we were reminded. I remember going to New York, talking about regular stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, we have an icon here, and sometimes you would forget because of his humility until people were swarming around him, and then all of a sudden, Lane, you were like, okay, I'm now bodyguard. I'm now bodyguard. You're like, okay, wait. We pivot. And I'm the bodyguard, and then, so that's just really something to be a part of, and for him just to come back, sit down with lunch. It's not like we would talk about it. We just talk about regular things, and that's who we want to bring tonight. All the good things, which it's so many. It really is so many.
I hear the same through line about Malcolm. It's just the same through line about his authenticness, his goodness, So I think you said it best in the quote that, if you thought you knew him in your head, and you really did.
Yeah. LaRon, who do we have that is teed up? I'm really still looking for Dr. J. Barnett. This is someone who really just talks about the emotional well-being in the process of.
So we don't have anybody queued up, but I do have a video to drop real quick so you guys could watch this.
All right, let's take a peek. Let's take a peek.
Team, I think I might have gotten this wrong. Might have gotten our guest wrong. Only because you seem like you're so genuinely who you are wherever you go.
That bring it.
Right. So we're supposed to be talking about code switching,
which is one of my favorite subjects.
But because it doesn't seem like that's your experience at all.
And that's why it's my favorite subject, because it's not my experience, because I don't code switch with nobody. But, I think part of why, first of all, shouts out to Lula, my mother, may she rest in peace. She was like the coldest person that ever lived. Like my mother was a cold case. Her and my grandmother both. And actually my next book is about my mother. My mother programmed robots that delivered the mail in the Sears Tower in 1976.
Yeah, that was Kimberly. She was on the show. Like she said, or I think it was Dr. Black who said, Malcolm was also very inquisitive. He liked to learn, really asked questions. I call it the Malcolm pause. He would you're on the phone with someone, you say, did I lose you? You still there? No, I'm just thinking.
That's one of the very first things. Let me tell you, the most prolific thing that I learned about Malcolm is Malcolm always processed and thought before he spoke. And it could be and it didn't have to be some complex thought. He was very thoughtful and intentional around his words. So that you hit that on the nose. So true. That always rang out at the having conversations with Malcolm, I would always stop and go, I wonder what he's thinking right this very moment. And then you get it, right? Because you don't get it right away. You get it after it's process and it's thought through, right? So you don't just get fly out the mouth.
That's right. I know that we have, let's see, I'm looking at the timing. If you could, Troy, I know that you have Lamont's information, right? I just want to make sure that he's on tap. If you could text him. And we also have Isaac Hayes that's coming on.
Lamont is he's coming in now.
Oh, okay. Lamont is coming in now. Yeah. Well, that's some good old timing. Listen, before we roll Lamont, I know that there's some more footage that we have of Malcolm just to run. If you could choose one of those to run before we get Lamont on, I think we probably have some more that we just want to share from behind the scenes with Malcolm before we get to Lamont.
Team, I think I might have gotten this wrong.
I would like to, I have the pleasure and honor of introducing to you our panel guests. I'm sure everyone here in this audience knows Dr. Bernice King. So, is there anyone who walked in late and didn't see the film? Good, we're all on the same page. All right, so the principal herself, please welcome Ms. Nikki Gatton.
Still trying to get over you standing here. Like, all of our childhood dreams have come true, like, right now.
Yeah. We get a lot of that, too. Oh, yeah.
Lamont,
how are you doing?
Welcome.
Can you hear us okay? All right, he's
I can hear you. Oh, there you go. Just trying to unmute this thing. What's up? I can hear y'all just fine.
Okay, good deal. It's
Can y'all hear and see me?
We can hear you.
Yeah,
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
We can hear you.
All right. All right.
Appreciate you this evening. You were on our one of our first shows. Yeah, a lot of people love that episode. Yeah, you were. That was our first recording day. That you came down, shared some stories.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know that. I'd have never known that. Y'all look like y'all been rolling for a few weeks.
Yeah. Well, listen, Malcolm would say I'm a good actor. My voice is
right.
I'm a good actor.
Right.
But you know,
Yes.
I know that you certainly you've crossed paths with him for really decades, and I just wanted we're bringing on people just to share whatever they would like. You know, people are talking about the cultural context and personal stories, brotherhood stories, whatever you'd like. The floor is yours.
Man, we talking, 40 years of like, who knows what to bring up.
Uh-oh.
You're gonna have to be more specific than that. But
do you have a story that you think speaks to him as a person? That's what we've really been honing in on. And even when it comes to his acting and the types of parts that he took, he was very, very specific. And I know that that's a thing that you have also talked about, like, all right, the types of parts that I want to take, I have to be particular because I'm speaking for the masses in many, many ways.
Right. Yeah. So naturally, I've been, we all kind of naturally just go down memory lane. Like, I think one of the fascinating things about, if we talk about the miracle of birth, we need to talk about the miracle of transitioning just the same, right? So when you do that, literally, I think not only does that person's life kind of flash before our eyes, but so does our own. And sometimes I wonder what other purpose there is sometimes in these times and in these experiences. And I think it is to be reminded of being appreciative of what you have and even what you had, as well as how important it is to really be present, cherish life. Obviously, don't take it for granted, but it makes you think back about all the many different times you laughed or cried together, or, we've talked a lot about the trials and tribulations of of relationships, and, I was, I was there for it. We've been through some things, right? So, but it also really sends me back to, like, I can see, like, I have a picture even in my head now of our mothers sitting and talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's these other things, and I was so looking forward to getting our wives together soon and having the kids meet each other, and just the fact that we didn't have that chance and that opportunity is heartbreaking. But I think I was trying to remember the details of the first time we ever met, and this is something that keeps popping up, even with people that are in your life in however so many different ways. You think back, you're like, one of the greatest questions is, do you remember when we first met? And most people don't remember. Most people actually don't remember. And there's something about that. Either way, I think that's fascinating. And it can speak to the intimacy of your relationship, whether you remember every detail or whether you have no clue when that first moment was, right? Because sometimes you're so present with that person, you don't even remember when that first event, right, happened. Yeah. All the little nuances that were happening within or around you. And then there's other people, because the connection was so significant, you remember every single detail, right? Yeah. So I can see Malcolm's face right now as of, you know, I think he might have been 14, I think, and I was 13, you know? And the irony was that he was actually a special guest. He was like the featured performer in this show that I was in with other peers and classmates of mine. And now some of those people are my dearest of friends. And, you know, again, we've grown up together since those days together. And just the fact that the same, like, it's really as if no time has passed. The same vibes that we had then are the same vibes we have now, you know? And at the time that he was already coming into his celebrity, right? As a young teenager, you know, he might have been relieved even that I was around. You know what I'm saying? I know how it is. Sometimes you go certain places and you're like, man, ain't nothing but women here. You're like, oh, wait a minute. I think there's another dude. It's like, you know, like we can even be like that with black folks. You go somewhere, you be like, man, there ain't nothing. I'm like, oh, wait, are those black folks? You know? Or, you know, it's like, is that a brother? You know? So who knows? He could have been like, yes, you know, like, you know, another guy, like, you know, my age, you know, but similarly, it was, you know, we were all excited to meet him, but then just that quickly, it was just two regular dudes, you know, two teenage boys just kicking it. Now, we had to be on point because we were in a show together. I can't even remember the name of the play, but I think it was it might have been the Warner Theater. Really? Coincidentally, in Washington, D.C. I think it actually might have been at the Warner Theater because I don't recall it being at the National Theater. And did he? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, just remembering like just how down to earth, again, what I'm really speaking to is how down to earth he was, how grounded he kind of already was, right? I think one of the reasons why even the Cosby Show spoke to so many of us was not just, for some, it was so different, right? Remember, I don't know, you know, many of you remember, people were like, oh, that ain't black people. Black people don't live like that. They don't make that kind of money. That's not realistic. You know, again, everything from both parents in the home, all this foolishness, the narratives that a lot of people were perpetuating were that, oh, this is a lie. This ain't real black folks. So one of the reasons why, unfortunately, it was groundbreaking is that it wasn't a demographic that we really saw a lot of, especially in national television, right? But one of the most profound things about the show, I think, is that regardless of their economic demographic, right, was that they were very relatable, regular, down-to-earth, real black folks, right? That would talk to you in a very articulate, educated way. At the same time, held you accountable as a child. There were high standards in this family. The elders were present and part of the equation. The community was diverse. It really did look and feel like most of our environments, right? When people really paid attention. But it was the fact that you could tell that environment, even as a work environment, was the same grounded, down to earth, right? Kind of environment that was very similar to the homes and the communities that we were also raised in. So there's been, thankfully, like a consistency, right? That not only our homes and our childhoods, but also the professional environments and the people who set very early standards for us, you know, they help to confirm and create a foundation that grounded us both in very similar ways throughout our lives, throughout our personal and professional lives. So we kept in touch, you know, here and there throughout our, you know, kind of like college age years. And, you know, and then I continued to stay in school. And again, I played ball and I did this and I taught. And then, you know, we often kind of crisscrossed or we catch each other here and there. But then once I got to LA, and then once I started going to the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem, And I think my first official year full force was like 2001. And once we reconnected there, then it was like, boom, we picked up full throttle as if, you know, we had never missed a full-time beat. And by that time, you know, we 30 years old, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Different.
And although it's a big leap from 13 to 30, there was still enough connective tissue there. And again, always knowing kind of who your cats are, who your boys are, right? And those people that are kindred spirits on and off screen. And when we had the time to really like spend a week together, and we were together all day, all night, right? And then we started this whole, you know, again, with some other peers, naturally, we were the generation, the younger folks that are coming in. And then that was the year we started this whole midnight poetry thing that now is a mainstay of the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem. It was just a weekend then, but we were like, literally, we had to kick people out 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So we were kicking it all day, all night. And then we did this stage reading, and I talked to my man Gavin the other day. The stage reading, and the name of the play, I think, was Cut Flowers. And we killed this thing, man. Got a standing ovation. And again, it was one of those other moments where we looked at each other and we was like, you got some shit here. Like, you know, we need to be doing more of this together. Like, you know, so again, it was just this thing, you know, and there's often an unspoken thing. It's a thing sometimes amongst men. Hold on, son. I hear you. Okay. All right. It can be, you know, it was always the kind of vibes where, you know, you could give each other a look, or we might both be getting bombarded with pictures and photographs, and we, you know, share a look, and it'd be like, yeah, you ready to go? Yeah, me too. You know what I mean? Or you good? Yeah, I'm good. You good? Yeah, I'm good. Without having to say a word, you know, like, yeah, man, hey, this is what it is. And sometimes even like, whew, I'm tired as hell, but you know, we're actually fortunate to have this kind of love from our community, this respect from our, you know, from our peers and younger people, and be here, you know, rocking with our elders and back on that wood, you know, back on the stage, which is where we know it really goes down, right? So there's so many different, you know, and so again, if I were to jump another 20 years from there, then we're in our 40s, you know, right? And early 50s now. And it's like, you know, so it's really a profound kind of arc to just have, you know, been here, then there, then there, then there. And again, part of what breaks your heart is that, you know, we won't have another 20 or 40 years of stories to recall and create together. But these last 40 have been remarkable. And but yeah, just one of those guys. Like I can't think of him without thinking of his smile, of his laugh. I remember how jealous I was that he learned how to play that fucking bass before I did. You know, and it was also kind of like, listen, man, like I'm trying my best not to look like a copycat, but I'm still gonna learn how to play that thing, and we might be thumping. We might have to thump side by side. You know, I ain't gonna have my chest hairs out and shit. You know what I mean? But I might be rocking a toothpick or something. And, you know, old school. You know, with my shit like cocked to the side. You know what I mean?
Making
like,
that happen.
And if I don't talk to nobody, just understand, you know, I'm in my shit, you know, like that's just, you know, you know, like, so, I mean, you know, it was just like all kind of, and we could just be completely silly at any given time. And at the same time, you know, as you all know, he's somebody that was so sharp and cerebral, yet, you know, not so in his head that his heart doesn't work. And we could check each other, we could challenge each other, we could disagree, even though there were a lot of things we agreed on. There was plenty more things that, even if just in the detail and the nuance, you know, it'd be kind of like, yeah, I hear you, Mom, but yeah, you know, yeah, Mal, I love you, but that's that's bullshit. Like, you know, there's not always a lot of people, period, let alone a lot of other men that, you know, can really communicate in a certain way with a certain level of, again, purity, honesty, vulnerability, even transparency, always love and respect, but we're not the same person, and we might not always see things the same way. And that's good, actually. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? And that's actually how you should even prefer it, in my opinion. I'm not interested in yes men, you know? So I'm interested in people who have their own brain, who think for themselves. And, you know, if there's something that I don't agree on, that I don't like, you have to prove it to me. At the same time, if I say back your shit up, you might want to be able to back your shit up. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't, I might call you on it, or I'll say, hey, you know, you can't back it up, but you obviously still entitled to your opinion. You know, so we never tried to change each other, which is one of the other things I appreciated. You know, although I do believe in many ways we kind of motivated and inspired each other, even when we articulated it, or even when we didn't. So, and I can't speak for him, and I wish sometimes these are the questions you might actually ask somebody, but that's not really necessary to ask somebody something like that. Sometimes you just kind of know. And again, you know, he might have been more important to me than I was to him. Like, who knows? You know what I'm saying? So, you never know how people really value relationships and friendships, but he articulated it enough, and you know, and we definitely had a relationship and an understanding that that I know I'm not fooling myself about, you know, and it was definitely like you know who not only your soldiers are, you know who the soldiers are, you know. And even if and when some real shit hits the fan, who's not tucking their tail, and who's going to do the very best they can to, you know, to stand up and fight, you know, and shout, and take care of themselves, but not necessarily, but not only take care of themselves. You know what I mean? Self-preservation is key, but there's some, you know, when shit really hits the fan, the only thing they're gonna do is look out for who shares their last name. All right, give me her.
Right. And you know, on that note, with your son, I know that you had some serious conversations with him about fatherhood. That's what I remember with you, especially, which I think is a nice way to bond when you talk about fatherhood. I thought that was lovely to see when you did come in to do the show. So, Lamont Rucker, we thank you. We thank you very much this evening for adding a lot of color, because you took us back over 40 years with Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Two young kids who grew up and still respected each other, and you really can't beat that. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, big dreams, just, you know, big dreams at that time. And y'all got to remember, man, looking back, you know, it's easy to assume and to think that, you know, we would be in the space that, you know, we've been in, right? Even from a professional career, you know, if you want to look at that, the career success, right, or whatever that we've had. But think about it. At 13, anything's possible. You could have never seen his face again after that show. You know how many people we've seen on one show, you never saw him again? You know what I'm saying? How many, and for all the numerous reasons that could be the case, right? So there's no guarantee that we would, you know, would there still be some, you know, a level of immortality, if you will, right? As we say in serial television, when your shows just like will continue to live on forever, likely, but also there's a lot of things and a lot of people that to some degree have been forgotten. So I think it just says a lot about the real texture and character of a man, and of our brother in particular, where the ability to sustain and even to transcend a role that sometimes people can only see you as this when they see you. And that's very hard as a young actor to be able to move beyond that. And that's one of the things that I always, thought was, not only very fortunate in that he was privileged to have, but that I definitely believe it was a reflection of him, not just his favor, but of how special he was. Because that doesn't happen for everybody or for all of us. And you didn't really see or know my face till significantly later. I just took a different route. I didn't get to come in to the industry, with full-fledged as a teenager, or even the hot boy in my 20s and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Those times.
I missed those phases. Hey, and I'm actually happy that I didn't, because there's a lot of people that flamed out, got exploited, got fooled, got tricked, got sucked up, spit out, all of that. So I'm glad that I actually took my time, and to some degree waited my turn, and at the same time didn't wait for shit. I kicked the door in when I was ready and when I felt prepared and equipped. And a lot of that was not just as much professional development as it was spiritual, emotional, and, character development. So, and, I think that's why we're still, standing. Love came to us late. Like we said, parenthood came to us late. But again, I'm glad everything and everybody does things in their own way, in their own time. So I'm happy for the delays that I've experienced. I think they're for good reason, and it teaches you discipline and patience and diligence and all of those things. So, yeah, man. Glad I could pop in, man. And I hope y'all keep Not All Hood going in some form or fashion. So, if I can be an asset to whatever you all pivot to, or however you continue things. But I would hate to see, that product, that production, that concept, and also just the community that I think you all have established, have really, kind of you planted a strong seed, and I hope you can keep the wheels turning.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for being a part of that ride from the beginning that got those wheels turning. And Lamont Rucker, we will see and speak to you soon.
Very
all
soon.
right.
We appreciate
Sounds
you,
good,
man.
y'all. All right. Love.
Appreciate you.
Love, man. Keep your head up.
Yeah.
You know it. Always. You know what I'm
took
saying?
us through
It's
that
just
process.
more motivation. More motivation, man. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Make lemons out of lemonade.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, Rucker. Good to see you. We are going to move on with people to somebody from the community. LaRon, who do you have for us? How shall we proceed as we wrap this up? I know we're going to go a little over. Those people, hang on, because
we have Isaac Hayes is in the green room as well.
Okay, listen. Why don't we let's roll a video, because I know we put together a few videos and there's some that I don't think that we've seen. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna play my favorite one.
Okay. I wonder what that is.
I do too.
another taste of your brown skin.
I had a feeling that was going to be it. You can't. I know Lane is smiling.
That Buteco is such a vibe. Oh my God, that Buteco is crazy.
That Poteco is like, let me tell you, I used to say all the time, if you have not gone to Poteco to see Malcolm and the band play, they are phenomenal. They like honestly, they keep the vibe going for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it'll go from one song to the other. It's a small space, but they make it feel like it's really huge, and the rotation just happens all night. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and for people who missed it, that was Buteco. I happened to catch one the last time I was there, May 1st. Forced myself to go because I was far away, but I said all the stars aligned. And you're right, those people loved it. They lined up. It was a whole vibe, and you can see Malcolm married to that bass, like like he was born to play it. Really amazing. Mixed all types of song. T.C. Carson was there performing the night that I was there. And you never know who's going to come out on that stage. That he again provided another stage for people to express themselves and bring people into the circle. And after, he took in all the people, all the things, with patience and grace that we've been talking about all night. But there's a really good transition to go to Mr. Isaac Hayes III, who we know. Look at him. Look, we know he's a professional.
Look. I knew he was going to be produced. Super produced.
Super produced. Hey, Isaac, how are you?
How are you guys? How you doing?
Doing well. Listen, we've been talking about Malcolm the Man. We thank you so much for being with us today. I know that we had a lot of things lined up with you, which I won't go into, but you did come on the show. Your show is going to be released. An amazing show. But I also know that speaking to you, you talk about, the cultural context in which Black people are really the leaders in so many things. And I'm sure that you have a very interesting lens about Malcolm in that particular cultural context and how he moved through the decades to kind of this place where we are now, and we're seeing how he is just revered.
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, I'm going to see how you guys are doing. We've been in contact, but I know you guys are a close-knit group. Even being in that environment for the time that when we filmed our episode, it was just great to see you guys and people, owning their destiny and making content and creating something that they felt was needed, which absolutely is needed and still needed for Black people. When it came to Malcolm, one of the things that I'm really big on in our community is honoring our icons. And I think a lot of times we move on from people that are so significant in Black culture because we are so innovative, but we don't really think about the lasting impact that, Cosby Show and Malcolm's character had on our community. I grew up in that era. Malcolm was a little bit older than I am, but he is that individual that is part of America's Black family. The cousin or brother that you always know and have always known. And when you see them doing well and doing things, you look up and say, like, they're still living the life and living up to the character that they displayed as a child. And I think it's really something to talk about with Malcolm, because in Hollywood, it's such a very vicious game. And I love the fact that he made it through that, because a lot of people don't. A lot of young child stars don't. And that, the kids from that show really navigated, through to adulthood achieving and following their dreams. And Malcolm was one of those people that did that. When it came to Not All Hood, and I think that this is important is because when we think of the idea of what a Black person is, we've not always been in control of that in pop culture and in the media. We've not really been able to decide who dictates that because we don't really control the distribution of our content in a way that we get to decide how people see us. And so I understood immediately like why this podcast was important because ironically enough, I think our episode came about and I remember that we were going to save it for the show is that he was like, Black people are not a monolith. My response was, we should be for a different reason. And I understood what he meant because the way that we're portrayed, he understood that I live up to the idea or I live up to the truth of what Black people really are, as opposed to what Hollywood or the music industry or, narratives that spin on about us try to tell us as. And that's something that we really need to be proud of collectively as Black people and understand that that's a Black icon. The episode with Keisha and Malcolm, I was really glued to that episode, that the premiere of season 2. And I really loved to see the exchange between them as brother and like sister in real life and how those are just two, people that wound up growing up to just be really good people. And I think that we don't ever have a conversation enough about the good people in our community, in our lives. We are attracted to the drama and the scandal and the tea and all those things. But, I think Malcolm lived a life that was extraordinary and to be admired. Again, your earlier guest was like, when did you ever hear Malcolm-Jamal Warner ever getting in trouble? It's like not. And the funny thing about that is that you expect that from people that have success in Hollywood, that grow up around celebrity, especially at a young age. And I was really struck by that in the time that we got to spend together. And I'll say at that time, when we did that show, that was a really tough time for me. But even before then, with what, I've been building with Fanbase, I know who my allies are. And Malcolm was and will always be an ally to what we're building because those people that understand what you're trying to do and what you're trying to build and what you're trying to be a part of and what you're trying to represent. And I appreciate him for that because that conversation was needed at a time for me where my faith was being tested in ways that people probably don't know because doing these things are kind of hard and you really wonder, do people really have your back and understand and really care about what you're doing? And Malcolm, showed that to me.
And, I think just, the way you talk about just the way that Black people in America and how they're the mover and shaker of things culturally in America, like nothing can be successful without us. I'm just really wondering what you think about his impact in that regard because of his history, because it is, as we see, so revered.
Well, let me say this. We Black culture is such a powerful thing and we don't, really have the opportunity again to control our narrative and say that. I speak highly about this show in particular because we need more voices in shows like this. I know again that there's more to our community than a lot of the things that we are entertained by. But a lot of content doesn't get the opportunity to be seen. And there's a lot of conversations that our culture need to have, and this platform was giving a perspective, and is going to continue to give a perspective. I know you guys are going to continue to give a perspective that that we need to hear at all times. Also, personally, I'm growing up in life, and I want to say that I took a lot of what Malcolm was saying in that episode and after the episode and what he was doing. Let me talk about that for a second too, because everything that's gone on in the last week just caught me so off guard, because I just celebrated my 50th birthday not too long ago. And when I did you guys' show, as soon as the show was over with, Malcolm gets up and starts doing these stretches, like these poses, right? I know you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Malcolm is doing and it's like, and he's unapologetic. It's not embarrassing or nothing, because it's like, these are some weird poses. Like, he's really doing some stretches. He's doing it. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, listen, he's like, the key to physical longevity is flexibility and muscle strength, right? And really stretching is just a really big thing that people don't realize, that really gives you physical longevity. And I was like, I'm gonna remember that. Like, huh? I'm serious. I'm not. I'm for real, right? So this is a true story. Last Thursday, my back starts hurting me. Like, for real. I'm like, yo, I don't never have no back pain. It's not anything like that. But I was like, oh man, I hope this is not what 50's like. Because all of a sudden your tires give out on you. You know what I'm saying? So I said, I remember what Malcolm said. I'm gonna start stretching. So I really had a rough 3 or 4 days, like, to the point that I don't have very many sleepless nights. But Sunday, like all Sunday night, I did not sleep. But the stretching is really what helped me. And it's crazy that I met Malcolm like at this time in my life where, we have to take care of ourselves. To the Black men out there, that's something that Malcolm taught me, is to care for our bodies. I don't drink, smoke or anything like that. But I saw, like, he's physically fit. I was like, yo, you look good. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I need to really be mindful about that and just what I'm doing. And so I took that with me. Like, and so when I got the news, I was like, that just the most bizarre thing, to really have someone on your mind like that in a way, and then you hear something about them like that. And I know we've been talking about, even even our episode, because that was one of the most, I guess, kind of cathartic conversations that I've been able to have, because you guys caught me off guard. I was like, are we recording?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You
Intros.
never know. We just like to get in that conversation.
Yeah, we're going.
Yeah, I'm talking like, when does the podcast start? He was like, we started.
Yeah, look,
We're having this whole conversation, so it doesn't feel like a podcast. It just feels like dialogue between Black people that really need to be able to have those type of conversations. And so it was cathartic. It was inspirational. It was really needed for me, and it was educational at the same time. And I think, we left that conversation, changing our mind about a few things in ways. I know, because again, I'm glad that Malcolm got to experience Atlanta and the Blackness that this city has. I saw when Keisha was talking about that, he's like, oh, it's just temporary. I'm like, Atlanta don't really work like that on you. Once you get around, once you get down here and you kind of see like your people in the way that, that we are in positions of power and brilliance and art and class, it's like, I think I might want to stay a little bit longer. And before you know it, Atlanta kind of wins you over. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad he got to experience the Blackness of this city, because I think that's something that he really enjoyed. And I really appreciated our time together, and I'll never forget, like, that time that we shared.
Isaac Hayes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for those words. As you know, the episode, folks, has not been released, so we're going to make that a big one. We got to get back on Fanbase and do a live watch. And we really appreciate all of your help with those live watches too. And so does he. I actually called you and told you that, you know, we were texting about you. So I gave you the message that he gave for you. And we will continue to be with us. You're part of the show. You're part of the fabric now. So
and we certainly appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've texted me, you've called me every day since, man, and I appreciate you for real. Like Candace just said, you're part of the family, you part of the game, man. We appreciate you, dear.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I tried my best when I called you, and then when I broke down crying, I said, "Oh wait, I'm not trying to make your day bad." And you said it's okay. So I thank you for that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean,
all right, we will be in touch on a lot of levels. Isaac Hayes III, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, as we move on, listen, I know LaRon, what do you got for us? Because I know that we are, it's all in LaRon's hands at this time. You know, we're closing out the show, I know, in a few minutes. Do we have somebody who might want to speak with us, or maybe even a video? You know, like I said, we collected.
Yeah, we could do a video. I could put the phone number up.
Yeah, put the
Somebody
phone
could
number
call
up.
in.
Why don't you run video?
Okay.
Can you run a video while we put the phone number up? Let's hear from a couple more people before we exit. Thank you to Roland Martin Unfiltered. While we are at it, we are on his platform. We are also on another show on his platform too tonight. So the phone lines are now open to join the conversation. Let's do a little bit of that. I think this is yeah. I think yeah.
You know what we didn't talk about?
What did we not talk about?
We didn't talk about Malcolm's love for LaRon.
Yes.
And the fact that LaRon's doing this, how do we just bubble over that?
Shout out to Ron Gaskins at Broken Traditions and Wins and Lessons.
Yes.
No problem. And you know, something was on my heart. Like, let me call Troy, see if y'all need help. And boy, did y'all need help. I was like, all right.
The whole back show. Hey, listen, we appreciate you so much.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Watch his podcast. Both of them are.
Yeah, say the name of his podcast one more time. Broken Traditions, right?
And wins and lessons.
And wins.
We got a caller coming in. Give me 1 second. Let me set this up and make sure this caller is not like some spam bot or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, and that Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just remember when we brought up LaRon's podcast, and I told Malcolm to take a look. Again, right? Usually it's a whole bunch of dialogue between all of us, not just Malcolm. And he looked and was like, "We have to do this guy." You remember? He was like, "He did the episode I wanted to do."
Yeah, that's what he said. He did the episode I wanted to do. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, when he knew, he knew. He used that phrase a lot. When I know, I know. When I know, I know. Yeah, he liked him very, very much. You know, it's funny because when Isaac was mentioning the stretches, I remember Malcolm, and I saw him on the ground, and he was like this, with his arm out. And I looked down at him, and I was like,
"Hey guys."
I said, "Hey, Spidey, what are you doing?" Yes.
You know,
we have Michelle in Southwest Georgia coming in.
All right.
Let me try to get her on the line. Let's see.
Okay, welcome.
Hello? You guys hear it?
No.
Not really.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, how about now?
Have her say a little something.
No, she's talking right now. I don't know why it's not coming through. Give me 1 second.
We can't hear her.
That's no problem. We're gonna get.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear it now?
Yes, I can hear you, but I'm actually watching them visually. Okay.
Yes, we hear you.
We hear.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing?
It's in Bucum increase to be on tonight. May we lay to rest our Bantu warrior, Junior King, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. When the man was on earlier, and he made the comment that a lot of people couldn't family. I lived that lifestyle. I would be born in 1955, and I grew up at the street right off of Benjamin E. Mays Drive.
Oh.
And Dr. Benjamin E. Mays lived one block from me. When the fall season would come in, I could look right out my backyard, right into his backyard. There were doctors, lawyers, teachers, nurses. My late aunt, she worked for the first black doctor on Auburn Avenue. In 1974, he would give the first $20,000 to start Morehouse Medical School. That was the late Dr. James B. Harris. I'm connected to Tiger Flowers. My great cousin and my great aunt would marry Martin Luther King's mother's first cousin. So I went to Southwest High School class of 1973, right here off of Linfield Drive, where I live now, and off of Benjamin E. Mays. We lived the Cosby dream. We literally lived it. We witnessed everything from the Jim Crow era to my grandfather was murdered in 1935, and he was the second richest black man in historic Vine City. And he would be murdered down there at the Georgia Power Plant. He would be on his wagon selling fruit. I don't even want to give the horrific detail of how he lost his life.
Can I ask you your name again? What's your name again?
And I am very deeply honored to have the opportunity to share my testimony. I'm Michelle Flowers of Southwest Atlanta, Georgia.
Michelle, I want to thank you so much because I think what you said resonated with a lot of people who saw the Cosby Show and saw themselves in it. And just hearing from someone in your age group especially means a lot to show how many people across decades Malcolm affected. So we really appreciate your call tonight and sharing your story.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Unknown caller.
Okay.
We got another caller. You guys want to take another call?
Okay, sure. Let's take one last call. I mean,
Okay.
we went a little over, but that's okay. We always go a little over on the podcast anyway.
We always go over.
Always.
Oh, just a little bit more.
Candace, you're muted.
Oh, thank you.
There
Thank you
you
so
go.
much.
Of course.
I was saying, let's see who we have, and I was just thanking everybody who was joining us
Hello?
today.
Oh, yes, who's calling?
You have somebody?
Might be a bill collector.
I didn't know you guys.
Hey, LaRon, we have somebody. All right.
You guys can hear?
We can
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't get to call his name. I'm so sorry. I was trying to do like 5 things at the same time. Can you hear her?
No, my name is Angel. I can
Angel.
hear you. Can you hear me?
Hi, Angel. How are you?
Hi, Angel.
I am wonderful. Thank you. Hello. Am I on already?
Yes, you are. The floor is yours, and we're really looking forward to your comment as we wrap the show.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to say that everyone has said how authentic Malcolm was, and he was just that. I had an opportunity to interview him on a podcast when podcasts weren't where they are now at the BET Awards. And I just want to say he hugged with his whole heart, and he transferred such positive energy to people. And I'm saddened by the loss, but I don't wish for an actor. I remember him as an activist. And I'm just so moved by all of you and your bravery and courage that you guys are showing us. And I am looking forward to Not All Hood. And I just encourage everyone to listen to his song, I'm Ready, from his Selfless album. And I want to thank you all just for saving space for us to have this conversation. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank
you. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing that with us as well.
Thank you. You all have a good night.
You too.
Good night. And thank you for being a part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gentlemen, again, I think Troy said earlier, it's a strange call that's 2 hours and over without Malcolm, because we've had plenty of them. But it was good to be in your presence like this, and good to feel his presence too. I felt like he was here with all of those stories. Let's give each other our final thoughts. Unless, wait a minute, LaRon, don't we have some other video? I remember some video of dancing, and he's got, in the fans in the streets.
Oh yeah, the New York one.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I played the New York one.
No.
There's one.
We played part of a New York one.
Yeah,
oh, so it's 2 New York ones. All right. I got you.
Okay. All right.
Sorry? I'm all the pictures. Sorry. Have a great day.
You too.
Not all.
If anybody wants to grab anything, there's a one.
I should have waited to come over here before I got coffee.
You should have.
Yes, really.
Yeah.
There's one more good one that you missed.
Yeah, there is. Oh, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, there's one more good one, and it shows. And as he pulls that up, we began this, and we did a press tour, and we had the whole gang that was there, and we went to Sway in the Morning. We went to the Breakfast Club. Did our rounds with Andre. By the way, a big shout out to Andre, because he helped get out a lot of this for tonight, and has been with us along the way. He's amazing. So as he pulls that out, just a little prep about that press run. What do you remember the most about that press run as we bring this to a close? Lane?
Man, I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, whoa, those were long days too, right? Really.
Yeah.
But the biggest moment, and I think we all choked back on that one, was when Sway was giving him his flowers, and then the tears started coming, and then if you looked around the room, everyone started going. It was like, that was like the strongest moment for me.
Yeah, he gave
All right, I got the video when you guys ready.
I don't think Malcolm was not expecting that, and when it happened, when Malcolm started, I started. I looked over at Troy. He was going. Kelly was going. Oh,
he was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry? I'm all the pictures. Sorry.
There's a freedom that we all in the Black culture, there's a freedom that we should have to be able to express ourselves, even if our opinions may not be of the popular.